5. Here we go. We are live.
Welcome, everyone.
Greetings.
Can you hear us all right?
I sure hope they can.
I'm back.
Welcome.
Hello.
Yeah. Can you hear us? We are streaming.
Thank you very
live.
much for being here. We're going to begin with a question from one of the members in our town hall.
I guess I'll go over and watch the video then.
Question, Secretary Clinton, you won the coin
Well,
toss.
if I can
First, our
bring
first
it
question
up,
comes from
I'm
Patrice.
failing with the
Patrice?
window capture for a second, so just a second.
Thank you and good evening.
Here it is.
The last presidential
Yay.
debate could have been rated as MA, mature audiences, per TV parental guidelines. Knowing that educators assign viewing the presidential debates as students' homework, do you feel you're modeling appropriate and positive behavior for today's youth?
Well, thank you. Are you a teacher? Yes, cool. I think that's a very good question.
Let me get my headphones so we don't have a lot of feedback and shit going on.
And parents about some of their concerns about some of the things that are being said and done in this campaign. And I think
Trump's
it is very important for us to make clear to our children that our country really is great because we're good. And we are going to respect
our country is
one
great
another,
because we're good.
Lift each other up. We are going to be looking for ways to celebrate our diversity. And we are going to try to reach out to every boy and girl as well as every adult to bring them in to working on behalf of our country. I have a very positive and optimistic view about what we can do together. That's why the slogan of my campaign is Stronger Together. Because I think if we work together, if we overcome the divisiveness that sometimes sets Americans against one another, and instead we make some big goals, and I've set forth some big goals, getting the economy to work for everyone, not just those at the top, making sure that we have the best education system from preschool through college and making it affordable.
Anonymous
and
store.
so much
Look at
else.
Trump's fifth
If we set those
chin.
goals and we go together to try to achieve them, there's nothing, in my opinion, that America can't do. So that's why I hope that we will come together in this campaign.
Says the person at the top.
Obviously, I'm hoping to earn your vote. I'm hoping to be elected in November, and I can promise you I will work with every American. I want to be the president for all Americans, regardless of your political beliefs, where you come from, what you look like, your religion. I want us to heal our country and bring it together, because that's, I think, the best way for us to get the future that our children and our grandchildren deserve.
Secretary Clinton, thank you. Mr. Trump, you have 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Well, I actually agree with that. I agree with...
In the hands of the corporations.
I began this campaign because I was so tired of seeing such foolish things happen to our country.
Like a bitch.
This is a great country. This is a great land. I've gotten to know the people of the country over the last year and a half that I've been doing this as a politician. I cannot believe I'm saying that about myself, but I guess I have been a politician. And my whole concept was to make America great again. When I watch...
Oh my God, he's pandering to voters by saying that.
With some horrible things like Obamacare, where your health insurance and
he acts
healthcare
like
is
he's
going up by numbers
anti-establishment.
that are astronomical, 68%, 59%, 71%.
How's the sound quality?
When I look at the Iran deal and how bad a deal it is for us, it's a one-sided transaction where we're giving back $150 billion to a terrorist.
All right, we're getting feedback.
Yeah.
Oh, we're losing the feed. What happened?
Can someone fix the audio? We're getting a lot of feedback.
$800 billion trade deficit. In other words, trading with other countries, we had an $800 billion deficit. It's hard to believe. Inconceivable. You say, who's making these deals?
What the hell is
Great trade
this?
deals. We're
The
gonna have
NSA.
We're going to bring back law and order. Just today,
Law and
can we
order.
mute
was
it?
shot. 2.
Gonna bring back law and
And this is
order.
happening on a weekly basis. We have to bring back
Oh, I lost the feed.
respect to law
Yeah, I did
enforcement.
too. It
At the
kicked
same
me.
time, we have
I
to
had
take care of
restart
people
it.
on all sides. We need justice. But
We're still
I
streaming
want
That's
live
weird.
though.
to do things
Yeah.
that haven't been done, including fixing and making our inner cities better for the African American citizens that are so great.
Now
and
he's
for the
pandering
Latinos,
to the
Hispanics,
African American citizens.
And I look forward to doing it. It's called Make America.
Yeah, like Hillary has been doing as well.
The question from Patrice
Well, they
was
both
about,
have
both
no
modeling positive and
idea
appropriate
how to
behavior
fix the
for
issues.
today's youth. We've received a lot of questions online, Mr. Trump, about the tape that was released on Friday. As you can imagine, you called what you said locker room banter. You described kissing women without consent, grabbing their genitals. That is sexual assault. You bragged that you have sexually assaulted women. Do you understand that?
No, I didn't say that at all. I don't think you understood what was said. This was locker room talk.
Grab him by
I'm
the
not proud
pussy.
of it.
He did say
apologize
that.
to my family. I
Grab him by
apologize
the
to
pussy.
American people. Certainly, I'm
Grab him
not
by the
proud of it.
pussy.
But this is
Grab him by
locker
the
room
pussy.
talk. You know, when we have a world
Grab him by the
where
pussy.
you have ISIS chopping off heads, where you have, and frankly, drowning people in steel cages, where you have
I moved on her like a
wars
bitch.
and horrible sights.
I moved
all
on her
over,
like a
where
bitch.
you have so many bad things happening. This is like medieval times. We haven't
I
seen
did try
anything
and
like
fuck her.
this.
She was
They're
married.
all over the world.
I did try and
And they
fuck her.
look
She was
and they
married.
see. Can you imagine the people
He's
frankly doing
bullshitting.
so well against
Oh, I
us
know.
with ISIS? And they look at our
ISIS.
country and they see
Let's
what's
deflect
going on.
this,
Yes, I'm very
because
embarrassed
ISIS.
by it.
I
I hate it, but it's locker room talk and
Locker room
it's
talk.
Man, he lies well.
Knock the hell out of ISIS.
Grab them
We're
all
gonna
by
defeat
the
ISIS.
vagina.
Happened
And talk about
9 years
ISIS.
ago in a vacuum that was left
So,
because of bad judgment. And I will
Do
tell
you think he lies well?
I will take care of ISIS.
So, Mr.
and
Trump-
we should get on to much
Yeah, he
more
does lie well,
important
like Hillary.
things and much bigger things.
just for the record, though,
You
are
would think
saying
he's
that
been
what
a
you
career
said on that bus
politician.
11 years ago, that you did not actually kiss women without consent or grope women without
I
consent?
have great respect for women. Nobody has more respect for women than I do.
So for the record, you're saying you never did that?
Things that
I did
frankly,
try and fuck her. She was married.
You hear these
And pulling up the
things,
image of Bill Gates and
I
that
was
piece of
embarrassed by
garbage
it,
and all
but
the
I
stuff
have
he's done to
tremendous
his
respect
people
for
makes me
women.
want to throw up.
Have respect for me.
And pulling up
And I
the
will
image of
tell you,
Bill Gates.
No, I have not. And I will tell you
I was
that
throwing in some
I'm going to
sound
make our
bites there.
country safe.
Sorry.
We're going to have borders
Sorry.
in our country, which we don't have now. People are pouring into our country.
I have
and
respect
they're
for
coming
women,
in from
and
the
women
Middle
have
East and
respect
other
for me.
places.
Mhm.
We're going to make America safe again. We're going to make
Yes.
America great again, but we're going to make America safe again. And we're going to make America wealthy again. Because if
We're
we
going to
don't
make
do that,
America.
it sounds harsh to say, but we have to build up the wealth of
Thank
our
you, Mr.
nation.
Trump.
Right now, other nations are taking our jobs and they're taking our wealth.
Thank you, Mr.
And that's
Trump.
what I want to talk about.
Secretary Clinton, do you want to respond?
Well, like everyone else, I've spent a lot of time thinking over the last 48 hours about what we heard and saw. You know, with prior Republican nominees for president, I disagreed with them on politics, policies, principles, but I never questioned their fitness to serve. Donald Trump is different. I said starting back
Someone's
in
typing on a
June
keyboard.
that he was not fit to be president
Really loud.
and commander-in-chief. And many Republicans and independents have said the same thing. What we all saw and heard on Friday was Donald talking about women, what he thinks about women, what he does to women, and he has said that the video doesn't represent who he is. But
Oh,
I
she's
think
so
it's
out
clear
of
to anyone
focus.
who heard it that it represents exactly
She's like,
who he
where
is.
was I going with
Because we've
this?
seen this throughout the campaign. We have seen him insult women. We've seen him rate women on their appearance, ranking them from 1 to 10. We've seen him embarrass women on TV and on Twitter.
We've seen
We
lawsuits
saw him
against
after the first debate spend
him.
nearly a week in the heart. Yes, this is who Donald Trump is. But it's not only women, and it's not only this video that raises questions about his fitness to be our president, because he has also targeted immigrants, African Americans, Latinos, people with disabilities, POWs, Muslims, and so many others.
Trump is like shaking his
this
head and
is who
kissing.
Donald
He
Trump
made a
is, and the
kissing move.
question-
Look at him. He's like, I want to
question
kiss everyone.
Our country must answer
Grab him by the pussy.
is that this is
Grab my
not
pussy.
who we are. That's why, to go back to
You
your
gotta wonder if
question,
Hillary's ever grabbed anybody
I want to
by the
send
cock.
a message, we all should, to every boy and girl, and indeed to the entire world. that America already is great, but we are great because we are good. And we will respect
we're
one
good.
another.
We're good at bombing
and we will
people.
work with one another. And we will celebrate our diversity.
America.
These are very important values to me because this is the America that I know and love. And I can pledge to you tonight that this is the America that I will serve if I'm so fortunate enough to become your
exactly.
president.
Does she seem out of focus to you two?
No, she doesn't seem out of focus.
For me, it sounds like she's trying to talk to somewhere, but she doesn't really know where she's
I heard
going.
them when they
Right.
were running for the Senate in New York, where Hillary was going to bring back jobs to upstate New York, and she failed. I've heard them where Hillary is constantly talking about the inner cities of our country, which are a disaster, education-wise, job-wise, safety-wise, in every way possible.
Does it look like Trump's shaken up?
Business.
Doesn't it look like he's shaken up, like he's not himself? Like he got his ass kicked or something?
Job for the African Americans.
They both look like they got their ass
and then she comes back 4
But I
years
think
later.
Trump didn't
saw
have
that
enough
firsthand.
sleep.
He doesn't look as like
campaigned
as powerful as he looks like he's like been slapped
I want
around.
to get to audience questions and online
It's
questions.
because of the media.
She's allowed to do that, but I'm not allowed to.
And she's
You're
grabbed by the
going to get to
media.
respond right now.
Sounds fair.
This tape is generating intense interest. In just 48 hours, it's become the single most talked about story of the entire 2016 election on Facebook.
What
With
they don't
millions
realize
and
is there's
millions of
more
people
than
discussing
that.
it
There's
on the
more than
social
that
network.
tape.
As we said a moment ago, we do want to bring in questions from voters around the country via social media. And our first stays on this
social
topic.
network.
Jeff
You're
from
breaking
Ohio
up.
asks on Facebook,
Am I?
Trump says the
Yes.
campaign has changed him. When did that happen? So, Mr. Trump, let me add to that. When you walked off that bus at age
I got
59,
microphone
were you a different man, or
insanity.
did that behavior continue until just recently? And you have 2 minutes for this.
That was
Insanity.
locker room talk.
Does everybody
I'm
hear
not
the
proud.
insanity?
I am a person who has great respect for people, for my family, for the people of this
Stop.
country. And certainly I'm
You
not proud
guys
of
are
it.
killing me.
But that was something that happened. If you look at
Oh my God.
Bill Clinton, far worse, minor words, and his was action. His was what he's done to women. There's never been anybody in the history of politics in this nation that's been so abusive to women. So you can say any way you want to say it.
They need close-ups on her. I'm trying to watch to see if I can find that crooked eye everyone's talking about.
And attack them viciously.
Oh, does she have a crooked eye?
Tonight.
Yeah, everyone keeps talking about it, so I'm trying to catch it, see if it's real.
Was raped.
Maybe she's like a
12.
lizard.
Her client, she represented, got him off, and she's seen laughing on 2 separate occasions, laughing at the girl who was raped. Kathy Shelton, that young woman,
This is true.
here with us tonight.
She did laugh
So,
about the young woman who was
Don't
raped.
tell me about words. I apologize for those words.
I have the
But it
best
is
words. He said that.
Things that people say.
Yeah.
But what
Multiple
President
times.
Clinton did, he was impeached. He lost his license to practice law. He had to pay an $850,000 fine to one of the women, Paula Jones, who's also here.
Well, we're not trying to re-elect Bill Clinton.
When Hillary brings up a point like that, and she talks about words that I said 11 years ago, I think it's disgraceful, and I think she should be ashamed of herself, if you want to know the truth.
Can we please hold the applause? Secretary Clinton, you have 2 minutes.
I moved
Well,
in her like a
first,
bitch.
let me start by saying that so much of what he's just said is not right, but he gets to run his campaign.
Yeah, we're sorry
any way
for
he
the
chooses.
feedback
He
and the
gets to
typing in the
decide what he
background.
wants to talk about.
We're having
Instead
technical
of answering
difficulties.
people's questions, talking about our agenda, laying out the plans that we have that we think can make a better life and a better country, that's his choice. When I hear something like that, I am reminded of what my friend Michelle Obama advised us all. When they go low, you go high.
Brings up a point like that, and she talks about the words that I said.
And look, if this were just about one video, maybe what he's saying tonight would be understandable.
It's too
But
funny.
everyone can draw their own conclusions at this point about whether or not the man in the video or the man on the stage respects women. But he never apologizes for anything to anyone. He never apologized to Mr. and Mrs. Khan, the Gold Star family, whose son, Captain Khan, died in the line of duty in Iraq. And Donald insulted and attacked them for weeks over their religion.
Hey, can we all
He
use
never
headphones, please?
apologized to the distinguished federal judge who was born in Indiana. But Donald said he couldn't be trusted to be a judge because his parents were, quote, Mexican. He never apologized to the reporter that he mimicked and mocked on national television, and our children were watching. And he never apologized for the racist lie that President Obama was not born in the United States of America. He owes the president an apology. He owes our country an apology. And he needs to take responsibility for his actions and his words.
Well, you owe the president an apology because, as you know very well, your campaign, Sidney Blumenthal, he's another real winner that you have, and he's the one that got this started along with your campaign manager, and they were on television just 2 weeks ago. She was saying exactly that. So you really owe him an apology. You're the one that sent the pictures around your campaign, sent the pictures around with President Obama in a certain garb. That was long before I was ever involved. So you actually owe an apology. And number two, Michelle Obama. I've gotten to see the commercials that they did
These
on
people
you.
can't be
And
real.
I've gotten to see some of the most vicious commercials I've ever seen.
They are real.
No, they're not.
Obama talking about you, Hillary.
They're not.
So
They're
That's
not
the
real.
worst of it.
Friend, go back and take a look at those commercials. A race where you lost.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Unlike the Bernie Sanders race where you won, but not fair and square, in my opinion.
Iruk in the
And all you have
chat
to do
says
take a
this
look
is
at
more like a
WikiLeaks and
Comedy
just see what
Central
they said
roast.
about Bernie Sanders and see what Deborah Wasserman Schultz had in mind.
Going into space, mathematics, quantum mechanics, the secrets of the universe. It's all there. Life is fiery with its beauty. It's incredible detail. Tuning into it. They want to shatter your mind. Talking about Justin Bieber.
The thing that you should be apologizing for are the 33,000 emails
I don't know
that you
if you-
deleted and that you
Two other guys
acid-washed.
are hearing the
And
sound
then the
bites that
2
I'm playing,
boxes
but
of
they're
emails and
funny.
other things
No,
last
I'm
week
not hearing
that
them.
were taken from
Okay.
an office and are now
But
missing.
they are funny.
And I'll tell you what, I didn't think I'd say this, but I'm going to say it. And I
Yes,
hate to
Alex
say it,
Jones did go Super
but if I
Saiyan.
win, I am going to instruct my attorney general to get a
Play
special
Alex Jones sound
prosecutor
bites.
Oh yeah,
to
and
look
Trump
into your
sound bites,
situation
of course.
because
Of
there
course
has
I do.
never been so many lies, so much
We-
deception.
We have the
There
best
has
sound
never been
bites.
anything like it, and we're going to have a
We have
special
all the sound
prosecutor.
bites.
When I speak, I go out and speak. The people of this country are furious. In my opinion, the people that have been long-term workers at the FBI are furious. There has never been anything like this where emails and
I
you
gotta
get a
use some
subpoena.
Tic Tacs just in
You
case they
get a
start kissing
subpoena,
her.
and after getting the subpoena, you delete 33,000 emails.
I wonder if
and
he
then you
had
acid wash them
Tic
or
Tacs so
bleach
he
them,
could
as you
kiss
would
her.
say, a very expensive process. So we're going to get a special prosecutor, and we're going to look into it because you know what? People have been, their lives have been destroyed for doing 1/5 of what you've done, and it's a disgrace. And honestly, you ought to be ashamed of yourself.
Secretary Clinton, I want to follow up on that. I'm going to let you talk
Damn,
about
here we go.
email.
Because
Here we go.
everything
Fight.
you just said
Fight.
is absolutely false, but
Fight.
I'm not
Oh, really?
surprised. In the first debate,
And we
in the
really,
first
the
debate,
audience needs to
I
calm
told
down
people
here.
that it would be impossible to be fact-checking Donald all the time. I'd never get to
She's
talk
standing
about
there
what he
planning
really
how
would
she's
do
gonna have
and how
Trump
we're going to
killed.
really make
Yeah.
lives better for people. So once again, go to HillaryClinton.com. We have literally Trump. You can fact check him in real time. Last time at the first debate, we had millions of people fact checking. So I expect we'll have millions more fact checking because you know it's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton,
He should be in
We
jail
want to remind
too.
the audience to please not talk out loud. Please do not applaud. You're just wasting time.
And Secretary Clinton, I do want to follow up on emails. You've said your handling of your emails was a mistake. You disagreed with FBI Director James Comey, calling your handling of classified information, quote, extremely careless. The FBI said that there were 110 classified emails that were exchanged, 8 of which were top secret, and that it was possible hostile actors did gain access to those emails. You don't call that extremely careless?
Well, Martha, first let me say, and I've said it before, but I'll repeat it because I want everyone to hear it. That was a mistake, and I take responsibility for using a personal email account. Obviously, if I were to do it over again, I would not. I'm not making any excuses. It was a mistake, and I am very sorry about that. But I think it's also important
Kyla Indigo asks, Jesus, could they be any more childish?
Misleading accusations from critics and others. After a year-long investigation, there is no evidence that anyone hacked the server I was using, and there is no evidence that anyone can point to at all. Anyone who says otherwise has no basis that any classified material ended up in the wrong hands. I take classified materials very seriously, and always have. When I was on the Senate Armed Services Committee, I was privy to a lot of classified material. Obviously, as Secretary of State, I had some of the most important secrets that we possess, such as going after bin Laden. So I am very committed to taking classified information seriously. And as I said, there is no evidence that any classified information ended up in the wrong hands.
No, but she didn't know the letter C on a
bleach bit too.
Right?
What's
she
up?
didn't even know what that letter meant.
Bleach bit.
It's amazing.
That's why there was no traces of anyone hacking, because she wiped that thing.
And she's going after fact after fact, and she's lying again because she said what she did with the emails was fine. You think it was fine to delete 33,000 emails? I don't think so. She said the 33,000 emails had to do with her daughter's wedding, number one, and a yoga class. Well, maybe we'll give 3 or 4 or 5 or something. 33,000 emails deleted. And now she's saying there wasn't anything wrong. And more importantly, that was after getting a subpoena. That wasn't before. That was after. She got it from the United States Congress.
That's
and I'll
over
be honest,
9,000.
I am so disappointed in congressmen, including Republicans, for allowing this to happen. Our Justice Department, where her husband goes onto the back of an airplane for 39 minutes, talks to the Attorney General days before a ruling is going to be made on her case. But for you to say that there was nothing wrong with you deleting 39,000 emails, again, you should be ashamed of yourself. What you did, and this is after getting a subpoena from the United States Congress.
We have to move on. Secretary Clinton, you can respond, and then we got to move on.
We want to give the audience a chance
here. In jail, let alone after getting a subpoena from the United States
Secretary
Congress.
Clinton, you can respond. Then we have to move on to an audience question.
Look, it's just not true, and so please go
you didn't delete them?
Allow her to respond, please.
Personal emails, not official.
33,000?
Well, we turned over 35,000, so it was.
What about the other 15,000?
Please allow her to respond. She didn't talk while you talked.
Yes, that's true. I didn't.
Because
I didn't in the first debate, and
look at these children.
Because I'd like to get to the questions that the people have brought here tonight to talk to us about.
And get off this question.
No, you know what, Eruk?
Okay,
the
Donald,
studio
I know
audience
you're into
needs to
big
get up and
diversion
just
tonight. Anything to avoid talking about your campaign and the way it's exploding and the way Republicans are leaving you.
Tie both of them to
let's
logs
at least
and
focus
put gasoline
on
around
the
them.
issues that people care about tonight.
Oh,
Let's get to
shit,
their
did you
questions.
hear that?
No, what did he say? I missed
it.
it.
He has a question about health care. Ken?
I'd like to know, Anderson, why aren't you bringing up the emails? I'd like to know. Why aren't you getting
brought up
to the
the
bottom?
emails.
No, it hasn't. It hasn't. And it hasn't been finished at all.
Ken Karpowitz has a question.
It's nice to 1 on 3.
Thank you.
Oh, my God.
Affordable Care
Oh,
Act
is he
like Obamacare. It is not affordable. Premiums have gone up. Deductibles have gone up.
He can't even shut up and let her get a chance to hang herself.
And the coverage has gone down. What will you do to bring the costs down
and now he's
make coverage better?
That first one goes to Secretary Clinton because you started out the last one to the audience.
He wants to start. He can start. No, go ahead, Donald.
No, I'm a gentleman, Hillary. Go ahead.
Secretary Clinton?
This is ridiculous.
Say he's going to solve it by repealing it and getting rid of the Affordable Care Act. And I'm going to fix it because I agree with you. Premiums have gotten too high, co-pays, deductibles, prescription drug costs, and I've laid out a series of actions that we can take to try to get those costs down. But here's what I don't want people to forget. When we're talking about reining in the costs, which has to be the highest priority of the next president, when the Affordable Care Act passed, it wasn't just that 20 million people got insurance who didn't have it before, but that in and of itself was a good thing. I meet these people all the time, and they tell me what a difference having that insurance meant to them and their families. But everybody else, the 170 million of us who get health insurance through our employers, got big benefits. Number one, insurance companies can't deny you coverage because of a pre-existing condition.
Of Hillary,
Number two,
some
no
of them
lifetime
pharmaceuticals.
limits,
I could
which is
swear
a big
that's
deal
the
if
truth.
you have serious health problems.
She gets huge
Number
campaign
three,
donations from
women can't be charged more than men for our health insurance, which is the way it used to be before.
Become a human again!
And you're figuring that out now?
Stop being weak!
And your parents have
We got a bunch of criminals coming down on us!
Oh, geez, Alex Jones is
something that didn't happen before. So I want very much to save what works and is good about the Affordable Care Act. But we've got to get costs down. We've got to provide some additional help to small businesses so that they can afford to provide health insurance.
She's so full of shit.
But
They're
if
both
we
full of
repeal
shit.
it, as
understand.
Donald has proposed,
I'm a gentleman.
and start over again,
I'm a gentleman.
all of those
I'm a
benefits
gentleman.
I just mentioned are lost to
How
everyone.
did America
not
end
just
up
people who get their
choosing
health
these?
insurance on the exchange. And then we would have to start all
Spoiler,
over again.
they did.
Right now, we are
It's only
90% health
I think that
insurance
it just
coverage.
shows
That's the
how
highest we've
rigged
ever
and
been in our country.
screwed up
So
the
I want us to get to 100%, but get costs down
election
and keep
process really
quality
is.
up.
Mr. Trump, you have 2 minutes.
It is such a great question, and
Grab
it's
'em by the
maybe the
pussy.
question I get almost more than anything else outside of defense. Obamacare is a disaster. You know it. We all know it. It's going up at numbers that nobody's ever seen worldwide. Nobody's ever seen numbers like this.
Oh,
for
sorry,
healthcare.
Panda Man.
It's
but
only
last
getting
week,
worse. In
Panda
17,
Man
it
writes,
implodes by
Alex,
itself.
please.
Their
These are new
method of
headphones
fixing
after
it
you
is to go
fucked
back
the
and
other
ask Congress
ones
for
2
more
weeks
money,
ago.
more and more money. We have right
we
now
apologize
almost
for
$20
that.
trillion in debt.
But come
Obamacare
on,
will
we
never
were
work.
dying. That was good
It's
times.
very bad.
Alex Jones
very
crying.
bad health insurance. Far too expensive. And not only expensive for the person that has it, unbelievably expensive for our country. It's going to be one of the biggest line items very shortly. We have to repeal it and replace it.
Anonymous Thor is having a field day in our
Absolutely
chat.
Much less expensive and something that works, where your plan can actually be tailored. We have to get rid
Anonymous
of the
Thor,
lines
I
around
think
the
Trump
state,
would
artificial
do
lines,
that.
where we
I think
stop
Trump would
insurance
definitely do
companies
that.
from coming in and competing because they wanted President Obama and whoever was working on it. They want to leave those lines because that gives the insurance companies essentially monopolies.
Do you think he
They
has
want
small
competition.
hands?
You will have the finest health
He has
care
very
plan
small hands.
there is. She wants to go to a single payer plan,
The
which would be a
smallest.
disaster. Somewhat similar to Canada.
The
And if you
best,
ever noticed the
smallest hands.
Canadians, when they need a big operation, when something happens, they
Oh,
come
God.
into the United States in many cases because
Someone's
their
asking for a
system is so
request.
slow.
Baldwin. I'm sorry,
It's
Baldian 3.
catastrophic in certain ways.
Please play
But she
that
wants to
clip
go to
of
single payer,
Trump of
which means the
Alex
government
crying
basically
again. They're
rules
crying
everything.
again. It was gold.
Hillary Clinton has been after
Well,
this
we'll
for
just
years.
see about
Obamacare was the first step. Obamacare
Where he
is a
goes
total
like,
disaster.
Yeah, we'll
and
see.
not only are your rates going
We
up
will
by
see.
numbers that nobody's ever believed, but your deductibles are going up so that unless you get hit by a truck, you're never going to be able to use it.
Mr. Trump,
It
your
is a
time.
disastrous plan, and it has to be repealed and replaced.
Secretary Clinton, let me follow up with you. Your husband called Obamacare, quote, the craziest thing in the world, saying that small business owners are getting killed as premiums double, coverage is cut in half. Was he mistaken, or was his mistake simply telling the truth?
No, I mean, he clarified what he meant, and it's very clear. Look, we are in a situation in our country
in a
where if we were to
situation,
start all
folks.
over again,
Folks, we
might come
gotta
up with a
get good
different
people to stand
system.
up against
But
these
we have an
people.
employer-based system. That's where the vast majority of people get their health care.
We got to
And
get
the
good people to stand up
Affordable Care
against these
Act
people, folks.
was meant to try to fill the gap between people who were too poor and couldn't put together any resources to afford health care, namely people on Medicaid. Obviously, Medicare, which is a single-payer system, which takes care of our elderly and does a great job doing it, by the way. And then all the people who were employed, but people who were working but didn't have the money to afford insurance and didn't have anybody, an employer or anybody else to help them.
What the hell
That
have we
was
become?
the slot that the
We just offer
Obamacare
our children up to the
approach was
system
to
with the
take.
fluoride,
And like I
the
say,
water, and the
20
GMO
million
hurting
people
them,
now have health
and we let
insurance.
fat
So
perverts grab them
if
at
we
the
just
airport
rip
to
it up
train
and
them for
throw
the
it away,
pedophile
what
government.
Donald's not telling you is we just turn it back to the insurance companies the way it used to be. And that means the insurance companies get to do pretty much whatever they want, including saying, look, I'm sorry, you've got diabetes, you had cancer, your child has asthma.
This is how
you may not
America
be able to have
is
insurance
looking
because
at
you
this
can't afford
election
it.
right now. This
So
is
let's
everybody's
fix
sounding
what's
like Alex
broken
Jones
about
crying
it,
right now.
but let's not throw it away and give it all back to the insurance companies and
Let
the
me
drug
follow up with you,
companies.
Mr.
That's not going to
Mr.
work.
Trump, let me follow on
I
this.
just wanted just one thing. First of all, Hillary, everything's broken about it, everything. Number two, Bernie Sanders said that Hillary Clinton has very bad judgment. This is a perfect example of it, trying
Trump,
to save Obamacare, which is...
You've said you want to end Obamacare. You've said you want to end Obamacare. You've also said you want to make coverage accessible for people with pre-existing conditions. How do you force insurance companies to do that if you're no longer mandating that every American get insurance?
You're going to have plans.
What does that mean?
Well, I'll tell you what it means. You're going to have plans that are so good because we're going to have so much competition in the insurance industry once we break out the lines and allow the competition to come.
Are you going to have a mandate that Americans
You have no idea how wrong
Obama,
Trump is on this.
keeping those lines,
He is so wrong here.
And it was almost gone until just very toward the end of the
But the point is, they're all down there crazy with all their prostitutes shipping pure 200 proof liquor
Free public
everywhere
health care
country.
is possible.
He said it was a great lie.
There
It
are
was a big
so
lie.
many
President
countries
Obama
doing
said you
it.
keep your doctor, you keep your plan. The whole thing was a fraud.
This is
and
true.
It doesn't work. But when we get rid of those lines, you will have competition. And
Competition only gets
pre-existing. We'll also be able to help people that
There's
can't
no
get-
lines.
don't have money because we are going to have people protected. And Republicans feel this way, believe it or not, and strongly this way. We're going to block grant into the states. We're going to block grant into Medicaid into
Thank you,
the
Mr.
states
Trump.
so that we will be able to take care of people without the necessary funds to take care of themselves.
Thank you, Mr. Trump.
Now go to
Whoa.
Zorba Hamid with the questions for both candidates.
Hi. There are 3.3 million Muslims in the United States, and I'm one of them. You've mentioned working with Muslim nations, but with Islamophobia on the rise, how will you help people like me deal with the consequences of being
We have the best
labeled
Muslims.
as a threat to the
I
country
love
after
Muslims.
the election is over?
Mr. Trump, you're
He's probably
first.
going to say something
You're
like
right
that.
about Islamophobia, and that's a shame.
It's a
But
shame.
one thing we have to do is we have to make sure that, because there is a problem. I mean, whether we like it or not, and we can
have
be
the
very
best
politically
problems.
correct, but whether we like it or not, there is a problem. And we have to be sure that Muslims come in and report when they see something going on. When they see hatred going on, they have to report it. As an example, in San Bernardino, many people saw the bombs all over the apartment of the two people that killed 14 and wounded many, many people. Horribly wounded. They'll never be the same. Muslims have to report the problems when they see them. And, you know, there's always a reason for everything. If they don't do that, it's a very difficult situation for our country. Because you look at Orlando, and you look at San
I did try and
you
fuck her.
look
She
at
was
the World
married.
Trade Center, go outside, you look at Paris, look at that horrible, these are radical Islamic terrorists. And she won't even
Radical
mention the word.
Islamic
And nor will
terrorists.
President Obama. He won't use the term radical Islamic terrorism. Now, to solve a problem, you have to be able to state what the problem is, or at least say the name. She won't say the name, and President Obama won't say the name, but the name is there. It's radical Islamic terror. And before
Terror.
you solve it, you
The
have
war
to
on
say the name.
terror.
Secretary
They're
Clinton.
terrorists.
Well, thank you for asking
Trying
the
to blow up
question.
the
And I've
world.
heard this question from
Terror.
a lot of Muslim Americans across our country.
They'll blow up the world and take over our
There's
culture.
been a
This is
lot
real
of
people.
very divisive,
Sorry.
dark things said about Muslims. And
That's America.
even someone like Captain Khan, the young man who
Oh, I thought you was gonna say
sacrificed
Captain
himself
Kirk.
defending our country in the United States Army. has been subject to attack by Donald. I want to say just a couple of things. First, we've had Muslims in America since George Washington. And we've had many successful
Trump
Muslims.
just learned something.
We
Look at
just
him.
lost a particularly well-known one with
It's just
Muhammad
like, wait a
Ali.
minute.
My vision of America is an America where everyone has a place. If you're willing to work hard, you do your part, you contribute
She's
to the community.
for the wall, too.
That's what America is. That's what we want America to be for our children and our grandchildren. It's also very short-sighted and even dangerous.
She's no friend of
to
immigrants.
be engaging in the kind of demagogic rhetoric that Donald has.
No,
about
she
Muslims.
isn't.
We need
And
American Muslims to be
don't
part
forget
of
her super
our eyes
predators
and ears on our
comments
front
and
lines.
her lobbying
I've
for the
worked with a
prison
lot of different
industrial
Muslim
complex.
groups around America. I've met with a lot of them, and I've heard how important it is for them to feel that they are wanted and included and part of our country, part of our homeland security, and that's what I want to see. It's also important, I intend to defeat ISIS, to do so in a coalition with majority Muslim nations. Right now, a lot of those nations are hearing what Donald says and wondering, why should we cooperate with the Americans? And this is a gift to ISIS and the terrorists, violent jihadist terrorists. We are not at war with Islam. And it is a mistake, and it plays into the hands of the terrorists to act as though we are. So I want a country where citizens like you and your family are just as welcome as anyone else.
Thank you, Secretary Clinton. Mr. Trump, in December, you said this: Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States until our country's representatives can figure out what the hell is going on. We have no choice. We have no choice. Your running mate said this week that the Muslim ban is no longer your position. Is that correct? And if it is, was it a mistake to have a religious test?
First of all, Captain Khan is an American hero. And if I were president at that time, he would be alive today. Because unlike her, who voted for the war without knowing what she was doing, I would not have had our people in Iraq. Iraq was a disaster. So he would have been alive today. The Muslim ban is something that in some form has
It's
morphed
politics
into
based on fear.
extreme
It's so
vetting
stupid.
from certain
It's
areas
so
of the world.
stupid.
Hillary Clinton.
It's what the media
wants
is
to allow-
pandering to as well.
The media does
Why
pander
did
to
it
us, but
morph
so do the
into that?
American
No,
people.
did
The
you-
American
no,
people
answer
are
the
definitely
question.
sitting
Do you
there
still believe-
nodding their
I
heads.
do.
Me all the time. Why don't you
Would you
interrupt her?
please explain whether or not the Muslim ban still stands?
It's called extreme vetting. We are going to areas like Syria where they're coming in by the tens of thousands because of Barack Obama, and Hillary Clinton wants to allow
This is
a
just pandering to
550% increase
This is just
over
pandering
Obama.
to the
People are coming into our
alt-right
country like
and
we have
nationalistic
no idea who
bullshit,
they
dude.
are, where they're from, what their feelings about our country is.
It's
and she
all
wants
Obama's and Clinton's fault.
550% more. This is going to be the great Trojan horse of all time. We have enough problems in this country. I believe in building safe zones. I believe in having other people pay for them. As an example, the Gulf states who are not carrying their weight, but they have nothing but money, and take care of people. But I don't want to have, with all the problems this country has and all of the problems that you see going on, hundreds of thousands of people coming in from Syria when we know nothing about them.
Gosh,
We know
people,
nothing
what
about
is
their
wrong
values,
with
and we know
both of
nothing
these
about their love
idiots,
for
and how
our
did
country.
they get
And
put
Secretary Clinton, let me ask you about
in
that.
these positions?
Because you
How
have
did the American
asked for
public
an increase
vote
from
them in
10
here?
to
I don't
65,000
understand this.
Syrian refugees.
Don't get
Yeah,
it.
me
You
neither.
know you
It's
want
it's
tougher vetting.
it's
That's
sad. It's
not
really
a
sad.
perfect system. So why take the risk of having those refugees come into the country?
Well, first of all, I will not let
Folks, we
anyone
gotta-
into
we
our
gotta
country
get
that I
good
think
people to stand
poses
up
a
against
risk
these
to
people.
us. But there are a lot of refugees, women and children. Think of that picture we all saw of that 4-year-old boy with the blood on his forehead because he'd been bombed by the Russian and Syrian air forces.
What about the ones that?
There
Oh my
are
God!
children
Oh, wait a
The
second.
ones that were
suffering
bombed
in
by
this
Americans.
catastrophic
Yeah.
war. largely, I believe, because of Russian aggression.
Russian aggression.
And
Are
we
you
need to do
kidding
our
me?
part. We by no means are carrying anywhere near the load that Europe and others
You're
are.
breaking up hardcore.
But we will have
I get your
vetting
point.
that is as tough as it needs to be from our professionals,
How
our
many
intelligence
millions
experts,
have
and
we
others.
wiped off the face of
But
the
it is
earth because
important
of
for
our
us as a
interests in the
policy,
United States?
you know, not to say, as Donald has
You
said,
can't
we're going
just
to ban
default
people
it
based
to
on
the
a religion.
Russians and say
How
the
do
Russians
you do that?
did
We
that
are a
to,
country founded on religious freedom and liberty. How do we
that kid because
do what he has
we've done a
advocated
lot more.
without causing great distress within our own country? Are we going to have religious tests when people fly into our country? And how do we expect to be able to implement those? So I thought that what he said was extremely unwise and
The Russians
even
hacked
dangerous.
the cybers, says
And
Panda
indeed,
Man.
you can look at the propaganda on a lot of the terrorist sites. And what Donald Trump says about Muslims is used to recruit fighters.
Why does it seem like Hillary wants another Cold War with
A
Russia?
war between us.
It seems
I'm,
like
I mean,
One thing I'll say, this is the
I'm not
10th or 12th
defending
time
Russia
that he's
here,
denied being
but
for the war in Iraq.
this fear mongering and this focus on Russia did it, Russia did this, Russia did that. It sounds very dangerous to me.
Has not been debunked.
So please
Has not been debunked. And
go
I
to
was against,
HillaryClinton.com and you can see it.
I was against the war in Iraq. Has not been debunked. And you
He
voted
was
for it, and you
for
shouldn't have.
the war
Well,
in
There's
Iraq
been lots of
initially.
fact-checking on that. I'd like to move on to an online question.
She just went about 25 seconds over her time.
She
Could
did
I
not.
just respond to this, please?
Very quickly, please.
Hillary Clinton, in terms of having people come into our country, we have many criminal illegal aliens. When we want to send them back to their country says we don't want them. In some cases, they're murderers, drug lords, drug problems, and they don't want them. And Hillary Clinton, when she was Secretary of State, said, that's okay, we can't force it into their country. Let me tell you, I'm going to force them right back into their country. They're murderers and some very bad people. And I will tell you very strongly, when Bernie Sanders said she had bad judgment, she has really bad judgment because we are letting people into this country that are going to cause
Pandering to
problems
Sanders
and crime like
voters.
you've never seen. We're also letting drugs pour
he is
through
pandering to
our
Sanders.
southern
The
border at a
the
record
left,
clip.
the left is never
At a
going
record
to vote
clip.
for
And
Trump.
it
No,
shouldn't
because
be
he's
allowed.
Especially not
to
Sanders
happen.
supporters.
ICE just endorsed me. They've
he's
never endorsed a
alt-right,
presidential
dude. I mean,
candidate.
he's
The Border
Nazi.
Patrol agents,
I mean, the Nazi party's backing
16,500
him.
just
I mean,
recently endorsed me.
He's a
And
nationalist.
they endorsed me because I understand the border.
Yep.
She doesn't. She wants amnesty for everybody. Come right in. Come right over. It's a horrible thing she's doing. She's got bad judgment, and honestly, so bad that she should never be president of the United States. That I can tell you.
Thank you, Mr. Trump. I want to move on. This next question comes from the public through the Bipartisan Open Debate Coalition's online forum, where Americans submitted questions that generated millions of votes. This question involves Wikileaks.
They're crazy with
reported
syphilis.
excerpts of Secretary Clinton's paid speeches, which she has refused to release, and one line in particular in which you, Secretary Clinton, purportedly say you need both a public and private position on certain issues.
This is
So,
a good
Two
question.
from Virginia asks, is it okay for politicians to be two-faced? Is it acceptable for a politician to have a private stance on issues?
Stop
Secretary
faking.
Clinton,
Well,
your 2 minutes.
right. As I recall, that was something I said about Abraham Lincoln after having seen the wonderful Steven Spielberg movie called Lincoln. It was a master class watching President Lincoln get the Congress to approve the 13th Amendment. It was principled and it was strategic. And I was making the point that it is
you guys
hard
keep catching
sometimes
me
to get the
vaping.
Congress to
And,
do what you want to do.
No, I'm on a
and you
VPN,
have
not
to
Tor,
keep
because
working
if
at
I
it.
was on Tor,
And
I wouldn't
yes,
be able
President
to stream
Lincoln
this correctly
was
for you.
trying to convince some people. He
Anarchist
used some
network.
arguments. Convincing other people, he used other arguments. That was a great, I thought, a great display
You guys
of
catch me
presidential
vaping.
leadership. But, you know, let's talk about what's really going on here, Martha, because our intelligence community just came
I
out
am a
and said
vape
in the
lord.
last few days that the Kremlin, meaning Putin and the Russian government.
No! There she goes again! What the fuck is wrong with her?
The hacking on American accounts.
The hacking of the
to
cybers.
Influence our election. And WikiLeaks is part of that, as are
again with Russia.
God. The Russians hack information.
WikiLeaks is not part of Russia.
Let's just set this straight.
We have
a
never
relationship
in the
with
history
WikiLeaks.
of our
We
country
talk to them.
been in a situation where an
we are WikiLeaks volunteers.
A foreign power is working so hard to influence the outcome of the election.
Far. We help them.
And believe me, they're not doing
gonna,
it to get me elected.
Go that far.
They're doing it to try to influence the election for Donald Trump. Now, maybe because he
has
have
a close relationship
Putin,
with them.
Maybe because he says he agrees with a lot of what Putin wants to do. Maybe because he wants to do business in Moscow. I don't know the reasons. But we deserve answers.
We've never,
and we should demand that Donald release all of his tax returns so that people can see what are the entanglements and the financial relationships.
He also said that choosing between Hillary or Trump is choosing between cholera or gonorrhea. So
now she's blaming. She got caught in a total lie. Her papers went out to all her friends at the banks, Goldman Sachs and everybody else. And she said things, WikiLeaks, that just came out. And she lied. Now she's blaming the lie on the late, great Abraham Lincoln. That's one that I haven't. Okay, Honest Abe. Honest Abe never lied. That's the good thing. That's the big difference between Abraham Lincoln and you. That's a big, big difference. We're talking about some difference. But
we have the best
as
difference.
far as other elements of what she was saying, I don't know, Putin. I think it would be great.
No, we're not
beating
beating on WikiLeaks.
Because we could fight ISIS together, as an example. But I don't know Putin. But I notice anytime anything wrong happens, they like to say, the Russians. She doesn't know if it's the Russians doing the hacking. Maybe there is no hacking. But they always blame Russia. And the reason they blame Russia is because they think they're trying to tarnish me with Russia. I know nothing about Russia. I know about Russia, but I know nothing about the inner workings of Russia. I don't deal there. I have no businesses there. I have no loans from Russia. I have a very, very great balance sheet. So great that when I did the old post office on Pennsylvania Avenue, the United States government, because of my balance sheet, which they actually know very well.
What the hell is he talking about, dude?
The old post office between the White House and Congress.
What is he talking
chose me
about?
To do the old post office. One of the primary things, in fact, perhaps the primary thing, was balance sheet. But I have no loans with Russia. You could go to the United States government and they would probably tell you that because they know my sheet very well in order to get that development I had to have. Now, the taxes are a very simple thing.
Taxes.
As soon as I have, first of all, I pay hundreds of millions of dollars in taxes. Many of our friends took bigger deductions. Warren Buffett took a massive deduction. Soros, who's a friend of hers, took a massive deduction. Many of the people that are giving her all this money that she can do many more commercials than me took massive deductions. I pay hundreds of millions of dollars in taxes. But as soon as my routine audit's finished, I'll release my returns. I'll be very proud to.
Thank you, Mr. Trump.
We've got we're on turn, actually, the topic of taxes. We have a question from Spencer Moss. Spencer?
Good evening. My question is, what specific tax provisions will you change to ensure the wealthiest Americans pay their fair share in taxes?
Mr. Trump, you have 2 minutes.
Well, one thing I do is get rid of carried interest. One of the greatest provisions for people like me, to be honest with you. I give up a lot when I run because I knock out the tax code. And she could have done this years ago, by the way. She was a United States senator. She complains that Donald Trump took advantage of the tax code. Well, why didn't she change it? Why didn't you change it?
Does Trump not understand how
the reason you didn't is that all your friends take the same advantage that I do.
I don't think he does.
You have provisions in the tax code that, frankly, we could change. But you wouldn't change it because all of these people give you the money so you can take negative ads on Donald Trump.
I'm the only non-American on this stream, and I know how the Americans
complaining about so many different things over the years. Oh, we should have done this. But she's been there for 30 years. She's been doing this stuff. She never changed, and she never will change. She never will change. We're getting rid of carried interest provisions. I'm lowering taxes, actually, because I think it's so important for corporations, because we have corporations leaving, massive corporations and little ones. The little ones can't form. We're getting rid of regulations, which goes hand in hand with the lowering of the taxes. But we're bringing the tax rate down from 35% to 15%. We're cutting taxes for the middle class, and I will tell you, we are cutting them big league for the middle class. And I will tell you, Hillary Clinton is raising your taxes, folks. You can look at me. She's raising your taxes really high. And what that's going to do is a disaster for the country. But she is raising your taxes, and I'm lowering
your
your
taxes. Are going to be
that
over
in itself
9,000.
is a big difference. We are going to be thriving again. We have no growth in this country. There's no growth. If China has a GDP of 7%, it's like a national catastrophe. We're down.
Are you playing Alex Jones clips again?
Of course I am.
No growth. And we're going lower, in my opinion. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that our taxes are so high. Just about the highest in the world.
Hilarious.
And I'm bringing them down to one of the lower in the world. And I think it's so important, one of the most important things we can do. But she is raising everybody's taxes massively.
Secretary Clinton, you have 2 minutes. The question was, what specific tax provisions will you change to ensure the wealthiest Americans pay their fair share of taxes?
Well, everything you've heard just now from Donald is not true.
I moved on her
I'm
like
sorry
a
I have to keep saying this, but he lives in an alternative reality. And it is sort of amusing to hear somebody who hasn't paid federal income taxes in maybe 20 years talking about what he's going to do. But I'll tell you what he's going to do.
Pussy.
His plan will give the wealthy and corporations the biggest tax cuts they've ever had, more than the Bush tax cuts by at least a factor of 2. Donald always takes care of Donald and people like Donald, and this would be a massive gift. And indeed, the way
And
that
Clinton
he
always
talks
takes
about
care
his
of
tax
Clinton
cuts
and
would
people
end
like
up
Clinton.
raising taxes on middle-class families, millions of middle-class families. Now, here's what I
Trump's like
wanna
a
do.
chicken with his
I
head. He
have
keeps
said
moving it like
nobody
he's a
who makes
chicken,
less than
dude.
$250,000 a year, and that's the
Gobble,
vast
gobble,
majority
gobble.
of Americans, as you know, will have their
That's a
taxes
turkey.
raised, because
Well,
I
you know,
think
who knows?
we've got to go
He's
where
a
the money
chicken
is, and the
turkey.
money is with people who've taken advantage of every single break in the tax code. And yes, when I was a senator, I did
He does.
vote
He looks like
to
a duck.
close
Anonymous
corporate
story says he
loopholes.
looks like a
I
duck,
voted
and
to
he
close.
wants to make him squeak.
I think one of the loopholes he took advantage of when he
well,
claimed $1 billion
in a way, he is a lot
loss
like
that enabled
Scrooge
him to
McDuck.
avoid paying taxes. I want to have a tax on people who
the way
are
they're
making $1
speaking,
million.
like she's
It's
saying,
called
I
the
want,
Buffett rule.
I want,
Yes, Warren
I
Buffett is the one who's
What
gone out
about
and
what
said
we want?
somebody like him
It's
should not be
you know,
paying a
they're not
lower tax
elected
rate
to
than
do
the
what
secretary.
they want to do.
I want to have a surcharge on incomes above $5 million. We have to make up for lost times because I want to invest in you. I want to invest in hardworking families. And I think
like
it's
it,
been
though.
unfortunate,
I know,
but
so
it's
funny.
happened that since the Great Recession, the gains have all gone to the top. And we need to reverse that. People like Donald who paid 0 in taxes, 0 for our vets, 0 for our military.
I'm
0
going to
for
lose my
health
shit
and
if he starts
education.
gobbling.
That is wrong. And we're going to make sure that nobody, no corporation and no individual can get
I
away
got an
without
Alex
paying
Jones
his
goat
fair
sound.
share to
I want to give
support
you,
our country.
Mr. Trump, I want
Play
to give you
it.
a chance to respond. I just want to tell our viewers what she's referring to. The last month, taxes were the #1 issue on Facebook for the first time in the campaign. The New York Times published 3 pages of your 1995 tax returns. They show you claimed a $916 million loss, which means you could have avoided paying personal federal income taxes for years. You've said you pay state taxes, employee taxes, real estate taxes, property taxes. You have not answered, though, a simple question.
D-Pro,
Did you use that
Hillary is
$916
wearing
million loss
some
to
kind of
avoid paying personal federal
futuristic
income taxes?
outfit.
Of course I do. Of course I do.
Space
And
suit.
so do all of her donors, or most of her donors. I know many of her donors. Her donors took massive tax write-offs.
So have
A
you
lot
not
of
paid
my,
personal federal income tax?
a lot of my write-off was depreciation and other things that Hillary, as a senator, allowed. And she'll always allow it because the people that give her all this money, they want it. That's why. See, I understand the tax code better than anybody that's ever run for president. Hillary Clinton, and it's extremely complex, Hillary Clinton has friends that want all of these provisions, including they want the carried interest provision, which is very important to Wall Street people, but they really want
Hey,
the
you know,
carried interest provision.
Here's my thing.
which
If
I believe
SpaceX
Hillary's
gets that
leaving.
shit running, man,
It's very interesting why she's leaving
all you
carried
younger
interest.
people need to get
But
the
I will
fuck
tell
out of
you
here and go
that,
to
number one, I
Mars.
pay tremendous numbers of taxes. I
Preach it.
absolutely used it, and so did Warren Buffett, and so did George Soros, and so did many of the other people that Hillary is getting money from. Now, I won't mention their names because they're rich, but they're not famous, so we won't make them famous.
Can
okay?
can you say how many years you have avoided paying personal federal income taxes?
No, but I pay tax, and I pay federal tax, too. But I have a write-off. A lot of it's depreciation, which is a wonderful charge. I love depreciation. she's given it to us. Hey, if she had a problem, for 30 years she's been doing this, Anderson. I say it all the time. She talks about health care. Why didn't she do something about it? She talks about taxes. Why didn't she do something about it? She doesn't do anything.
Again, he does not understand how the Senate
works.
works.
With her, it's all talk.
But her voting record
and
is
again,
also very,
Bernie
very,
Sanders,
very
it's
bad.
really bad.
Try to watch this.
She has
It's
made
shady,
bad judgments
sure.
not only on taxes. She's made bad judgments on Libya,
They're both
on
very
Syria,
shady people.
on Iraq. I mean, her and Obama, whether you
Like
like
we
it or
said,
not, the way they
we
got
should
out
write
of Iraq,
books about how
the
shady these
vacuum
folks
they've
are.
left, that's why ISIS
Maybe it's your
formed
microphone,
in the first
dude.
place. They started from that little area.
You're like
and now
breaking
they're
up.
in
I think it's your
32
microphone. I don't think it's your
different
connection at
nations,
all. I'm
Ellie.
checking your connection. You look
Congratulations.
fine.
Great job.
I want you to be able to respond, Secretary Clinton.
Well, here we go again. I've been in favor of getting
Is this
paid
better?
interest for years.
Yeah, but now you're like super
starting
loud,
when I
bro.
was a senator from New York.
Oh.
But that's not
Like,
the point.
oh, wait,
You
wait,
know,
wait, no, you're
Why
good.
didn't you do it?
Allow her to respond.
Because I was a senator with a Republican president.
Oh, really?
I will be the
You could have
president
done
who
it
will
if
get
you
it
were
done.
effective. Now?
If
That's
you were an
exactly
effective
right.
senator, you could have
All right,
done
go
it.
ahead.
If you were an effective senator, you could have done it. But you were not an effective
Please allow her to
senator.
respond. She didn't interrupt you.
You know, under our Constitution, presidents have something called veto power. Look, he has now said repeatedly, 30 years this and 30 years that. So let me talk about my 30 years in public service. I'm very glad to do so. 8 million kids every year have health insurance because when I was First Lady, I worked with Democrats and Republicans to create the Children's Health Insurance Program. Hundreds of thousands of kids now have
I
a
did
chance
try
to
and
be
fuck her. She was-
adopted because I worked to change our adoption and foster care system. After 9/11, I went to work with Republican mayor, governor, and president to rebuild New York and to get health care for our first responders who were suffering because they had run toward danger and gotten sickened by it. Hundreds of thousands of National Guard and Reserve members
Do you
have
think like this
health
is
care
like
because of
porn
work that I did.
to like all these couch
And
potatoes sitting
children
there watching
have
this?
safer medicines because I was able to pass a law that required
do you mean?
the dosing to be more carefully
Like
done.
it's like
When I was
stimulating
Secretary
parts
of, State,
of their
I
brains
went
that
around
they
the
just
world advocating for our country,
I
but
don't know,
also
like,
advocating
the control
for women's
mechanism.
rights to make
Like,
sure that women
wow,
had
look
a
at these
decent
powerful
these
people.
politicians
chance
ve-
to have
are
a better
very
life
calculated
and
in what they're
negotiated
saying.
a treaty with
You know,
Russia
I
to
think
lower nuclear
that
weapons.
all these people are sitting on their couches going, damn.
400 pieces
you know,
of
look at
legislation
these,
have my
these
name
two
on
powerful
it
people go
as
at
a
it.
sponsor or co-sponsor when
And
I
that's
was a
sad
senator for 8
because
years.
They'll never get out of their
I
own
worked
slavery.
very hard and was very proud to be
They're the
reelected in
worst
New York by an
jokes
even
I've ever
bigger
seen.
margin than I had been elected the first time. And as president, I will take that work, that bipartisan work, that finding common ground, because you have to be able to get along with people to get things done in Washington.
Thank you, Secretary.
And I've proven that I can. And for 30 years, I've produced results for
Thank
people.
you, Secretary.
We're going to move on to Syria. Both
Yeah,
of you
no,
have
you're
mentioned that.
pandering to the corporation.
I mean, I think we should.
Don't brag
We can-
about it.
Maybe
Mr. Trump, we're going to
this
go
year,
on. This
because
is
she has
about
been
the
a
audience.
disaster as a senator.
Mr. Trump,
A
we're
disaster.
going to move on. The heartbreaking video of a 5-year-old Syrian boy named Amran sitting in an ambulance after being pulled from the rubble after an airstrike in Aleppo focused the world's attention on the horrors of the war in Syria, with 136 million views on Facebook alone.
Yeah, you
But there
know,
are much worse images
Governor
coming out of Aleppo every day
Fauchery.
now, where in the past few
Govy
weeks alone,
Fauchery.
400
That
people
says
have been
not a
killed,
word about
at least
Fukushima.
100 of them children.
I wonder how
Just
that's
days
going.
ago, the
I
State
mean, I haven't
Department
heard a
called for
word about
war
it for a
crimes
long time.
investigation of the Syrian
We'll do
regime
some
of
research
Bashar
on it and
al-Assad
post some
and
tweets
its
about
ally,
Fukushima
Russia,
because
for
it's
their bombardment
it's an
of
interesting
Aleppo.
topic.
So this next question comes from social media through Facebook. Diane from Pennsylvania asks, if you were president, what would you do about Syria and the humanitarian crisis in Aleppo? Isn't it a lot like the Holocaust when the U.S. waited too long before we helped? Secretary Clinton, we will begin with your 2 minutes.
Well, the
And
situation
because
in
of
Syria is
environmental
catastrophic.
disasters
And
like Fukushima,
every day that
nuclear
goes
energy
by,
is
we
not
see the results
clean
of
energy.
the regime by Assad in
It's bad
partnership
to
with
the
the Iranians on the ground, the Russians in the air, bombarding
Do you have
places,
another
in particular
microphone?
Aleppo, where there are hundreds of
I do.
thousands of people, probably about 250,000 still left. And there is a determined
Is this
effort by
better?
the Russian Air Force to destroy
talk over Hillary for a little
order
bit
to
because she's just talking bullshit
eliminate
anyways.
the last of the Syrian rebels
testing
who
my
are really
microphone.
holding
1,
out
2,
against the
3.
Assad regime.
I think that's a lot better
Russia
than what
hasn't
it
paid any
was. You
attention
were
to
fading
ISIS.
in and out.
They're
like
interested
crazy,
in
and I couldn't
keeping
even
Assad
understand.
in power. So when I was Secretary of State, advocated, and I advocate today, a no-fly zone and safe zones. We need some leverage with the Russians.
No-fly zones
because
don't
they're
work.
not going to come to the
Safe zones
negotiating table
don't
for
work.
a diplomatic resolution.
Military
unless there is some
resolutions
leverage over them.
don't work.
And we
unless
have
you're
to work
conquering
more
and
closely
occupying
with our
the
partners and
population.
allies on the
and
ground.
we've seen that doesn't
Well,
work either.
But I want to emphasize
I think rescue missions
stake
and
here is the
humanitarian
ambitions and
missions
the
and
aggressiveness of
rebuilding
Russia.
infrastructure and
Russia has
bringing
decided
food
that
to
it's
countries
all
is
in
a very
Syria.
important part.
And they've also decided who
But
they
all
want
the
to see become
bombing
president of the United States
and causing
too.
the
It's not me.
conflicts and
I
the
stood
oil
up to
trade
Russia.
with those
I've taken on
countries,
Putin and
that's
others,
what's hurting
and I
the
would
Middle
do that as
East.
president. I think wherever we can cooperate with Russia, that's fine. And I did as Secretary of State. That's how we got a treaty reducing nuclear weapons. It's how we got the sanctions on Iran that put a lid on the Iranian nuclear program without firing a single shot. So I would go to the negotiating table with more leverage than we have now. But I do support the effort to investigate for crimes, war crimes committed by the Syrians and the Russians and try to hold them accountable.
Thank you, Secretary Clinton.
First of all,
Mr.
you
Trump.
Excuse
there,
me. Here,
Secretary of
D-Pro
State, with
says,
the so-called line
D-Pro
in the
9
sand,
says nuclear is centralized
which-
power.
No,
Fuck
I wasn't.
that.
I was going. I hate to
agree
interrupt
to
you, but
But you were in
at some point-
contact,
also,
excuse me.
At some
you don't
point,
even
we need
You
to
were
know
in
the
total
dynamics of
contact with the White
nuclear
House.
power.
And perhaps, sadly, Obama probably still
The
listens.
issues
I don't
with
think he'd be
nuclear
listening
power
very much
is
anymore.
we don't even understand.
Obama draws
it
the line
enough
in the
to
sand.
Stop
It was
reactors that are out of
laughed at
control.
all over the world what happened.
Yeah,
Now, with
but
that being said,
my point
she talks tough
that I
against
was
Russia.
explaining earlier, but
our nuclear
you didn't hear
program
me because my
has fallen
microphone was
way
acting
behind,
up.
And they've gone
Nuclear
wildly with the
energy
nuclear program.
is
good.
not
Our
green
government shouldn't
energy
have allowed that to happen.
because it's bad
Russia
for the
is
environment,
new
like we see in
in terms of
Fukushima.
nuclear.
Right.
We're old, we're
You know,
tired,
I'd
we're
say-
exhausted in terms of nuclear. A very bad thing. Now,
If
she
we
talks
can
tough.
use
She talks
It
nuclear
causes
in-
environmental
against,
disasters.
We can
Putin
use nuclear in
and against
space,
Assad.
I'd say, for space
She talks in
travel.
favor of the rebels. She doesn't even know who the rebels are.
But
you know,
not
every time
on
we
Earth
take
or any
rebels,
other environmental
whether
structure,
it's in Iraq or anywhere else, we're
like
arming
on another
people.
planet or whatever.
And you know what happens?
I don't think we should.
They
use
end up being worse than the
nuclear
people.
in
Look at what she
our
did in Libya with
environmental
Gaddafi.
habitat at
Gaddafi's
all.
out. It's a mess. And by the way, ISIS has a good chunk of their oil. I'm sure you probably have heard that. It was a disaster. Because the fact is, almost everything she's done in foreign policy.
I think we
has been a
should be
mistake
getting
and it's
energy
been a
out of
disaster.
molecules because in
But if
every
you look at
molecule there's
Russia,
energy.
Just take a look at Russia.
That's nuclear power.
And look at what they did this week, where I agree she wasn't there. But
No, but
possibly
safely harnessing
she's
it.
consulted. We sign a peace treaty.
That's what
Everyone's all
they
excited.
try to do, but they
But what
failed,
Russia
dude.
did,
I mean,
and with Assad,
Fukushima's
and
a
by the way, with Iran,
disaster.
who you made very powerful.
I know.
The dumbest deal
Um,
perhaps I've ever seen in the history
Let
of
me
deal
explain
making.
it better.
The Iran deal,
Like,
with $150
just
billion
getting
with
energy
the
out of the air.
$1.7 billion in cash,
Like,
which is enough cash to
wind
fill up
power.
this room. But
Just
look
kidding. I
Look
know.
at that deal. Iran now and Russia.
Damn, I
are now
forgot
against
I
us.
forgot the
So
term
she
for
wants
it.
to fight. She wants to fight for rebels.
But yeah,
There's
we
only
should
one
tap
problem.
into
We
the
don't
sun
even
as
know who the
well,
rebels are.
because that is an insane amount of energy striking the earth every day.
Assad at all.
Way more than we
Assad is
use.
killing ISIS. Russia is killing ISIS. And Iran is killing ISIS. And those three have now lined up because of our weak foreign policy.
Mr. Trump, let me repeat the question. If you were president, what would you do about Syria and the humanitarian crisis in Aleppo? And I want to remind you what your running mate said. He said provocations by Russia need to be met with American strength, and that if Russia continues to be involved in airstrikes along with the Syrian government forces of Assad, the United States of America should be prepared to use military force to strike the military targets of the Assad
He
regime.
didn't even understand the
I haven't
question.
spoken, and I disagree. I disagree.
You disagree
I think
with your
we
running
have to
mate.
knock out ISIS. Right now, Syria
He
is
just went
fighting
against
ISIS.
his running
We
mate.
have people that want to fight both at the same time. But Syria is no longer Syria. Syria is Russia.
Do you
and it's
know
Iran, who she
how
made strong, and Kerry
profound
and
of a
Obama
statement
made into a
that
very
is?
powerful nation and a very rich nation, very
He has no
very,
idea.
very
He
quickly.
has no idea.
He just
believe we
admitted
have
that
to get
he just said,
ISIS.
I have to speak with
We
them.
have to worry about
'Cause
ISIS
I disagree.
before we can get too much more involved. She had a chance to do something with Syria. They had a chance, and that was the line.
What do you think
And
will
she
happen if Aleppo falls?
I think Aleppo is a disaster humanitarian-wise.
What do you think will happen if it falls?
I think that it basically has fallen, okay? It basically has fallen. Let me tell you something. You take a look at Mosul. The biggest problem I have with the stupidity of our foreign policy. We have Mosul. They think a lot of the ISIS leaders are in Mosul. So we have announcements coming out of Washington and coming out of Iraq. We will be attacking Mosul in 3 weeks or 4 weeks. Well, all of these bad leaders from ISIS are leaving Mosul. Why can't they do it quietly? Why can't they do the attack, make it a sneak attack, and after the attack is made, inform the American public that we've knocked out the leaders, we've had a tremendous success. People leave. Why do they have to say we're going to be attacking Mosul within the next 4 to 6 weeks, which is what they're saying? How stupid is our country?
There are sometimes reasons the military does that. Psychological
I can't
warfare.
think of any. I can't think of any.
It
and I'm
might
pretty good
be to
at it.
help
We have
get
General
civilians
Flynn,
out.
And we have, look, I have 200 generals and admirals who endorse me. I have 21 Congressional Medal of Honor recipients who endorse me. We talk about it all the time. They understand. Why can't they do something secretively where they go in and they knock out the leadership? Why would these people stay there? I've been reading now
Tell
for
me
weeks.
what your
Martha, I've been
strategy
reading now
is.
for weeks about Mosul, that it's
Wow,
the harbor
they're letting him
of
hang
where,
himself right
between
here.
Raqqa and Mosul.
Totally.
This is where they think the ISIS leaders are. Why would they be staying? They're not staying there anymore. They're gone. Because everybody's talking about how Iraq, which is us with our leadership, goes into fight
I think
Mosul.
both candidates
Now,
are
with these 200
doing very
admirals
well at
and
hanging
generals,
themselves.
They can't believe it. All I say is this: General
But this is
George
really going to
Patton,
hit him
General
because
Douglas
he doesn't know what the hell
MacArthur
he's talking
are
about.
spinning in their graves.
She's
at the
just sitting there
stupidity
looking like,
of what
holy
we're
shit,
doing in the
wow,
Middle
this
East.
I'm
guy's
going to go
dumb.
to Secretary Clinton. Secretary Clinton, you want Assad to go. You
He is
advocated
done.
arming rebels, but it looks like that may be too late for Aleppo. You talk about diplomatic efforts. Those have failed.
It seems that we
Ceasefires
lost
have
our other
failed.
guy. He hasn't
Would you
spoken for a
introduce
while.
the threat of U.S.
We're waiting
military
for him to come back, but he
force
never came
beyond a
back.
no-fly zone
We miss
against
you,
the
bro.
Assad regime to back up diplomacy?
Our third
I
live
would
streamer.
not use American ground
bailed a while
forces
ago,
in
and
Syria.
we've been waiting
I think
for
that
him
would be a
to come
very
back.
serious mistake. I don't think American troops should be holding territory, which is what they would have to do as an occupying force. I don't think that is a smart strategy. I do think the use of special forces, which we're using, the use of enablers and trainers in Iraq, which has had some positive effects, are very much in our interests. And so I do support what is happening. But let
So
me
what would you do differently than President Obama is doing?
Martha, I hope
Depro
that by
says
the
vote
time
Trump
I
and make
am
America
president,
burn again.
I
And
hope
that's
by the
exactly
time
what
I
would
am
happen.
president
There'd be a huge
that we
war
will
here.
have pushed ISIS out of Iraq.
Yeah,
I
but
do think that there
what kind
is
of wars
a
would
good
Clinton
chance that we
cause?
can
I
take
mean,
Mosul.
her rhetoric against Russia
and,
is
you know, Donald
terrifying.
says he knows more
Well,
about
I
ISIS than the
think that
generals.
the
No, he
alt-right
doesn't.
would be against
There
Clinton,
are a
and
lot of
it's much-
very
it's a much
important
smaller
planning
base
going on,
than
and some of it
what
is to
the
signal
liberal kind of
to the Sunnis in the area,
base
as well
would
as
be.
Kurdish Peshmerga fighters, that we all need to be in this,
That would
and that
be
takes a lot of
triggered by
planning and
Trump.
preparation. I would go after Baghdadi. I would specifically target Baghdadi because I think our targeting
Both
of
are still
Al-Qaeda
puppets,
leaders,
yes,
and I was
they are
involved in a lot
puppets.
of those operations, highly classified ones, made a difference. So I think that could help. I would also consider arming the Kurds. The Kurds have been our best partners in Syria as well as Iraq. And I know there's a lot of concern about that in some circles.
Look at how
but
proudly
I think they
she's
should
telling
have the
how she's
equipment they
going
need
to
so
arm
that Kurdish
people.
and Arab fighters on the ground are the principal way that we take Raqqa
You know what?
after
Arm her.
pushing
Send her
ISIS
over there.
out of Iraq.
Thank you very much. We're going to
You know,
move
it's funny,
on.
she went over a minute over, and you don't stop her. When I go 1 second over, it's like
You
a
had
big deal.
many
It's really-
answers.
It's really very
We've
interesting.
got a question over here from James Carter. Mr. Carter?
My question is,
Wait.
Do you believe you can be a devoted president to all the people in the United States?
That question begins for Mr. Trump.
Absolutely. I mean, she calls our people deplorable, a large group, and irredeemable. I will be a president for all of our people. And I'll be a president that will turn our inner cities around and will give strength to people and will give economics to people and will bring jobs back, because NAFTA, signed by her husband, is perhaps the greatest disaster.
And, you know, they should just scrap the election until they can find people who could actually...
We lost our jobs.
I don't know.
We lost our money. We lost our plans.
It's sad,
it is a
isn't
disaster. And now she wants to sign TPP,
Well,
even though she says now
the
she's
current
she called it the
system
gold
is
standard. And by the way, at the last debate, she lied because
really
it turned
bad in
out
America.
that she did say the
It's
gold
so
standard.
regressive.
And she said she didn't say it. They actually said that she lied.
I can't
Okay? And she lied.
get
But she's lied about
why
a lot of things. I
people
would be
purport
a
to say
president
that
for all
the
of
United
people,
States is the best country
African
in the world.
Americans, the inner cities.
It's blind patriotism
Devastating
and
what's happening to
nationalism
our inner
that,
cities.
that's
She's
gotten
been
us
talking
here.
about it for years. As
I
usual,
understand
she
if you're
talks
living in
about it,
America
nothing
that you
happens.
think it's
She
the
doesn't
best
get it
country
done.
in the world because you
Same
grew
with
up
the
there and you
Latino
have your history there and you have had great times there,
The same
you know?
exact thing. They talk, they don't get it done.
I'm
You go into the inner
hearing a
cities and you
lot
see
of
it's
people that
45%
say
poverty.
America is the best country in the world, but our politics are shit.
The education
Right?
is a disaster.
Well,
Jobs
I'm
are
starting to
essentially
see that
non-existent.
a lot of the people are shit,
I mean,
too.
it's
What is going on with
you
the
know,
street?
and I've been
Hold on.
saying
He's talking,
big
but
speeches
they're
where I
stuck.
have 20 and 30,000 people.
What
do you
he's
have to
stuck.
lose?
Look, he's
You
like,
can't
check,
get anywhere.
check out his lips.
He's been talking about
Look
the
at his
inner
lips,
city
dude. You
25
see him?
That is so funny.
Oh,
that is so funny.
Let me tell you, if she's
he's
president
singing.
of the United States, nothing's going to happen. It's just going to be talk. And all of her friends, the taxes we were talking about,
We
and
are
I would just
going
get
to
it by
bomb
osmosis.
ISIS.
We are
She's
going
not
to
doing any
war.
favors. But by doing all the others favors, she's doing me
Refresh
favors.
Mr. Trump, thank you.
But I will
I'll
tell
refresh
you,
it as soon as I
she's
make
all
it smaller.
talk.
Hold on.
It doesn't get done. All you have to do is take a look at her Senate run. Take a
Excuse
look at
me.
upstate New York.
Refresh
2 minutes is up.
Your 2 minutes is up, cracker. Oh, here we go. Loading.
Mr. Carter, I have tried my entire life to do what I can to support children and families. You know, right out of law school, I went to work for the Children's Defense Fund. And Donald talks
Welcome
a lot
back.
about, you know, the 30 years I've been in public service. I'm proud of that. You know, I started off as a young lawyer working against discrimination against African American children in schools and in the criminal justice system. I worked to make sure that kids with disabilities could get a public education, something that I care very much about. I have worked with Latinos. One of my first jobs in politics was down in South Texas, registering Latino citizens to be
And I've
able
worked
to
with the
vote.
Illuminati and
So
just
I
kidding.
have a deep devotion to
Good
use
night,
your
Anonymous
absolutely
Thor.
correct word, to making sure that every American
Anonymous Thor
feels
says,
like he or she has a
night.
place in our country.
Good night.
And I think when you look at the letters that I get, a lot of people are worried that maybe they wouldn't have a place in Donald Trump's America. They write me, and one woman wrote me about her son, Felix. She adopted him from Ethiopia.
They always come up
when
with
he
these
was a
sob
toddler.
stories,
He's
too,
10
right?
years old now.
Yeah,
It's the only
exactly.
country he's ever known.
This one woman
And
wrote
he
me.
listens to Donald on TV, and he said to his
She's
mother
like,
one day,
Can't help my son, but you can help America. My son's dying in the hospital. Oh, we lost the feed again.
will he send me
Oh, there-
back to
there it is.
Ethiopia
No, we
if he
didn't.
gets elected?
Oh, there it is.
You know,
all these
children
pictures
listen
online
to what
of
is being said, to go back to the very,
Trump and
very
Clinton
first
being
question.
friends.
And
Did
there's
they
a lot
used
of
to be
fear.
friends?
In fact, teachers
I
and
don't know.
parents are
Did he
calling
ever
it the Trump
grab her?
effect. Bullying is up. A lot of people are feeling, uneasy. A lot of kids are
I've asked
expressing
that
their
question.
concerns. So first and foremost, I
I
will do
moved on her
everything
like
I
a
can to
bitch.
reach out to
Going
everybody.
into space!
Democrats,
I'm gonna be a
Republicans,
president. I'm gonna be the best
independents, across
president.
Our country. If you don't vote for me, I still want to be your president.
the
I
same,
wanna be
dude.
the best president I
Trump
can
is
be
using the
for
same
every American.
strategy.
Secretary Clinton, your 2 minutes is up. I want to follow up on something that Donald Trump actually said to you. a comment you made last month. You said that half of Donald Trump's supporters are, quote, deplorables, racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic. You later said you regretted saying half. You didn't express regret for using the term deplorables. To Mr. Carter's question, how can you unite a country if you've written off tens of millions of Americans?
Well, within hours, I said that I was sorry about the way I talked about that, because my
She's running a divisive campaign as well.
Him, and with the hateful and divisive campaign that he has run, and the inciting of violence at his rallies, and the very brutal kinds of comments about not just women, but all Americans, all kinds of Americans. And what he has said about African Americans and Latinos, about Muslims, about POWs,
this is all just a big
about
game.
Immigrants, about people with disabilities. He's never apologized
well,
for.
that's conspiracy theory.
Think
of course, it's
territory.
conspiracy theory, but you look at the released
I'm
emails,
the
and it pretty much
Bernie
says
Sanders
it in
and I
there.
ran. We ran a campaign based on issues, not
There's
insults, and he is supporting me.
There's an email that was
because we talked about what we wanted to do. We might have had some
let me read the
differences,
tweet. I'll go to my personal account here. I won't put my personal account
that we
up,
could
but
make the country better, and I was proud of that.
The Hillary team wrote about their goal of elevating Trump 2 months before he declared his candidacy. So how much freaking conspiracy theory are you talking here, bro?
Chicago.
It's not theory.
You take a look at Washington, D.C.
You really think it's controlled opposition?
We have an increase in murder within our cities, the biggest in 45 years.
At Ben Spielberg
because
wrote
people
this
like her,
on
and believe
October,
me,
and he has a screen
she
cap
has
of the letter.
tremendous hate in her heart. And when she said deplorables, she meant it. And when she said irredeemable, they're irredeemable. You didn't mention that. But when she said they're irredeemable, to me that might have been even worse.
She said some of them.
So you think it's controlled opposition?
She's got tremendous hatred. And this country cannot take another 4 years of Barack Obama. And that's what you're getting with her.
Mr. Trump, let me follow up with you. In 2008, you wrote in one of your books that the most important characteristic of a good leader is discipline.
Here.
You said if a leader doesn't have it, quote,
this is my channel anyway, so whatever. In the days everybody knows who I am anyway.
You sent out a series of tweets from 3 a.m. to 5 a.m., including one that told people to check out a sex tape. Is that the discipline of a good leader?
No, it wasn't check out a sex tape. It was just take a look at the person that she built up to be this wonderful
another sob story.
Girl Scout, who was no Girl Scout. By the way, just so you understand, when she said 3 o'clock in the morning, take a look at Benghazi. She said, who's going to answer the call at 3 o'clock in the morning? Guess what? She didn't answer because when Ambassador Stevens...
The question is that the discipline of a good leader?
600 times. Well, she said she was awake at 3 o'clock in the morning. And she also sent a tweet out at 3 o'clock in the morning, but I won't even mention that. But she said she'll be awake. Who's the famous thing? We're going to answer our call at 3 o'clock in the morning. Guess what happened? Ambassador Stevens sent 600 requests for help. And the only one she talked to was Sidney Blumenthal, who's her
friend. So you think it's controlled
and
opposition?
Not a good guy, by the way.
It sure seems like it in a roundabout fashion,
sure. Now, tweeting happens to be a modern-day form of communication. I mean, you can like it or not like it. I have, between Facebook and Twitter, I have almost 25 million
her
people.
And Trump were friends
it's a
for how
very
long,
effective way of communication. So you can put it down, but it is a very effective form of communication. I'm not unproud of it, to be honest.
It's certainly interesting, but I think Trump is hitting Clinton too hard.
I'm shocked to hear that.
In order to be controlled opposition.
It's not only my opinion, it's the opinion of many others, national security experts, Republicans, former Republican members of Congress. But it's in part because those of us who have had the great privilege of seeing this job up close and know how difficult it is, and it's not just because I watched my husband take a $300 billion deficit and turn it into a $200 billion surplus, and 23 million new jobs were created, and incomes went up for everybody. Everybody. African-American incomes went up 33%. And it's not just because I worked with George W. Bush after 9/11.
Joey is saying she is projecting her divisiveness that they are both showing.
What we needed to recover, he said, "You got it," and he never wavered. He stuck with me.
No, I agree with that.
And I have worked,
They're
and
both
I admire President Obama.
Using the same tactics.
He inherited the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression. That was a terrible time for our country.
We have to move along.
9 million people
Secretary
lost their
Clinton, we
jobs.
have to...
5 million homes were lost.
I'm not for
Secretary
conspiracies
Clinton,
either.
we're
Believe me, I hate the tinfoil.
We are back on the right
stuff.
track.
I want proof.
He would send us back
Reality
into
and
recession with his tax
but
plans.
if there's something that smells fishy, I got to point it and say, hey, you know what? That's not right.
Mr. Trump, we're moving to an audience.
The fact that we constantly make fun of Alex Jones
Mr. Trump,
shows that
Secretary Clinton, we want to get to the audience. Thank
that
you
we're
very
not
much,
really
both of
down
you.
with that territory.
And pulling up the image of Bill Gates and that piece of garbage and all the stuff he's done to innocent people makes me want to throw up.
Good evening. Perhaps the most important
I think I blew some eardrums out with that last sound clip. I apologize.
What would you prioritize as the most important aspect of selecting a Supreme Court justice?
Got to keep the people awake.
We begin with your 2 minutes, Secretary Clinton.
Thank you. Well, you're right. This is one of the most important issues in this election. I want to appoint Supreme Court justices who understand the way the world really works, who have real-life experience, who have not just been in a big law firm and maybe clerked for a judge and then gotten on the bench, but maybe they tried some more cases.
Right.
They
need to. Aruk says, can these moderators grow some spines and tell them both to shut up in 2 minutes? Yep.
And so I want to see
it's like 2 minutes hits.
The Supreme Court reverse Citizens United and get dark, unaccountable money out of our politics. Donald doesn't agree with that.
Start crying?
I would like the Supreme Court to understand that voting rights are still a big problem in many parts of our country.
Yeah, because
we don't always do everything we can to make it possible for people of color and older people and young people to be able to exercise their franchise. I want a Supreme Court that will stick with Roe v. Wade and a woman's right to choose, and I want a Supreme Court that will stick with marriage equality.
Very
now,
badly
Donald has put forth the names of some people that he would consider, and among the ones that he has suggested are people who would reverse Roe v. Wade and reverse marriage equality. I think that would be a terrible mistake and would take us backwards.
D-Pro 9.
I want a Supreme Court that doesn't always side with corporate interests. I want a Supreme Court that understands because you're wealthy and you can give more money to something doesn't mean you have any more rights or should have any more rights than anybody else. So I have very clear views about what I want to see to kind of change the balance on the Supreme Court. And I regret deeply that the Senate has not done its job. And they have not.
You know what she's doing here?
On the person that President Obama, a highly qualified person.
Ever.
They've not given him a vote to be able to have the full complement of 9 Supreme Court justices.
9.
I think that was a dereliction of duty. I hope that they will see their way to doing it. But if I am so fortunate enough as to be president, I will immediately move to make sure that we fill that. We have 9 justices
Secretary
and they get to work on behalf of our people.
Thank you. You're out of time, Mr. Trump.
Justice Scalia, great
Thanks
judge,
for stating the obvious.
died recently, and we have a vacancy.
Who is he going to choose?
I am looking to appoint judges very much in the mold of Justice Scalia. I'm looking for judges, and I've actually picked 20
for judges,
of them.
and he's picked 20 judges.
So that people would say highly respected, highly thought of, and actually
I've got
very
20
beautifully
judges,
reviewed by just about everybody. But people that
maybe you should do a reality
the
show.
Constitution
Who will
of the
become the
United
next
States.
SCOTUS?
And I think that this is so important. Also, the Second Amendment, which is
Joey,
totally
Alex
under siege
Jones is a
by
tool for our
people
amusement.
like Hillary Clinton. They'll respect the Second Amendment and what it stands for, what it represents. So important to me. Now, Hillary mentioned something about contributions, just so you understand. So I will have, in my race, more than $100 million put in of my money, meaning I'm not taking all of this big money from all of these different corporations like she's doing. What I ask is this. So I'm putting in more than, by the time it's finished, I'll have more than $100 million invested. Pretty much self-funding mine.
He's playing the Sanders card here.
And we're doing tremendously on the small donation, $61 average or so. I asked Hillary, why doesn't she made $250 million by being in office?
What's up?
She used the power of her office to make a lot of money.
I don't think he's playing the same.
Why isn't she funding?
He's just
not for
talking
100
out of
million,
his
but
ass.
why don't you put 10 or 20 or 25 or 30 million
I've only
dollars
gotten small
into your
amounts
own
of
campaign?
donations, and
It's
Hillary
$30
Clinton
million
got
less for
millions
special interests that will tell you
at one
exactly
time.
what to do.
That's
And
exactly
it
what
would really, I
Sanders
think,
was
be a nice
using
sign
in his
to
campaign.
the American public. Why aren't you putting some money in? You have a lot of it. You've made a lot of it because of the
Because
fact
he said
that
he didn't
you've
want
been
a lot
in
of
office.
donations.
Made a
Because
lot
he
of
was
it while
almost
you were
self-running his
Secretary of
campaign.
State, actually. So why aren't you putting money into your own campaign? I'm just curious.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you. We're going to get on to one more question.
The question was about the Supreme Court, and I just want to quickly say,
very quickly,
I respect the Second Amendment, but I believe there should be comprehensive background checks, and we should close the gun show loophole and close the online loophole.
Oh, this should be interesting.
As many lives as we possibly can.
We have one more question from Ken Bone about energy policy. Ken?
What steps will your energy policy take to meet our energy needs, while at the same time remaining environmentally friendly and minimizing job loss?
This
for
guy's a
fossil
hacker,
power plant
bro.
workers?
Mr. Trump, 2 minutes.
Absolutely. I think it's such a great question because energy is under siege by the Obama administration. Under absolute
Oh my
siege.
God!
The
Is he
EPA,
seriously
Environmental
saying
Protection
this?
Agency,
Yes.
is killing these energy companies. And foreign companies are now coming in, buying so many of our different plants, and then rejiggering the plant so that
What
they
does
can take care of
rejiggering
their oil.
mean?
We are killing, absolutely killing.
Is that even a
our energy
word?
business in this country.
It's not.
Now I'm all for.
What the fuck is
alternative
rejiggering a
forms of
plant?
energy, including wind, including solar,
All right,
etc.
I'm not even gonna look
But we
it up
need much
because
more
it's not
than
a
wind
word.
and solar. And you look at our miners. Hillary Clinton wants to put all the miners out of business.
She
There is a
wants to
thing
rejigger
called
the
clean
miners.
Coal. Coal will last for 1,000 years in this country. Now we have natural gas and so many other things because of technology. We have unbelievable. We have found over the last 7 years, we have found tremendous wealth right under our feet. So good, especially when you have
It
20
is a
trillion in
word.
debt. I will
Oh, it is.
bring our energy companies back.
It's a
They'll be
verb.
able
Jokes
to
on us.
compete. They'll make
Jokes
money.
on us.
They'll pay off our national debt.
Organize
They'll pay
something
off our
differently
tremendous
to
budget
rearrange.
deficits, which are
He
tremendous.
rejiggers his
But
stump
we are
speech
putting
ever
our
so
energy
slightly to fit
companies
the crowd.
out
That
of
sounds
business. We have
the
to
same
bring back our
messages.
workers. You take a look at what's happening to steel and the cost of steel, and China dumping vast amounts of steel all over the United States, which essentially is killing our steel workers and our steel companies. The
EPA should be restrictive. I'm sorry for saying
possible.
this.
The EPA
I
is
don't
so
like big
restrictive
government.
that they are
But
putting our
environmental
energy companies
protection
out
is
of
so
business. And all you have to do is
incredibly
go to a great
important.
place like West Virginia,
These
or
resources
places
they're
like
using
Ohio,
are finite.
which is phenomenal. Or
It's causing
places like
health
Pennsylvania.
issues. It's
And
causing
you see what
issues
they're
with
doing
biodiversity.
to the people, miners and others in the energy business.
Rejigger,
It's
bro.
a disgrace.
Your time is up. Thank you,
It's
sir.
an absolute disgrace.
Secretary Clinton, 2 minutes.
You got to rejigger it.
Well, that was very interesting. First of all, China is illegally dumping steel in the United States, and Donald Trump is buying it to build his buildings, putting steel workers and American steel plants out of business. That's something that I fought against as a senator, and that I would have a trade prosecutor to make sure that we don't get taken advantage of by China on steel or anything else. You know, because it sounds like you're in the business or you're aware of people in the business. You know that we are now, for the first time ever, energy independent. We are not dependent upon the Middle East, but the Middle East still controls a lot of the prices. So the price of oil has been way down, and that has had a damaging effect on a lot of the oil companies, right? We are, however, producing a lot of natural gas, which serves as a bridge to more renewable fuels, and I think that's an important transition. We've got to remain energy independent. It gives us much more power and freedom than to be worried about what goes on in the Middle East. We have enough worries over there without having to worry about that. So I have a comprehensive energy policy, but it really does include fighting climate change, because I think that is a serious problem. And I support moving toward more clean, renewable energy as quickly as we can, because I think we can be the 21st century clean energy superpower and create millions of new jobs and businesses. But I also want to be sure that we don't leave people behind. That's why I'm the only candidate from the very beginning of this campaign who had a plan to help us revitalize coal country, because those coal miners and their fathers and their grandfathers, they dug that coal out. A lot of them lost their lives, they were injured, but they turned the lights on and they powered our factories. I don't want to walk away from them, so we've got to do something for them. But the price
They
of coal
don't care
is
about
down
the environment,
worldwide.
dude.
So we
They
have to look
don't
at this
care about it.
comprehensively, and that's exactly what I have proposed.
The problem
I hope we will
is
go to HillaryClinton.com
keep using coal energy.
entire policy.
One more audience question.
We've sneaked in
It's
one
gonna
more
keep
question, and it
destroying
comes
us.
from Carl Becker.
Especially health-wise.
My question to both of you is,
are you fucking real?
Regardless of the current rhetoric, would either of you name one positive
What was his
thing
question?
Hold on.
that you respect in one another?
He's asking, what do you respect in one another?
Trump, would you like to go first?
Name something.
Well, I certainly will, because
Oh, shit.
I think
Oh,
that's
here goes.
a very
Throw
fair
down.
and important question. Look, I respect his children. His children are incredibly able and devoted, and I think that says a lot about Donald. I don't agree with nearly anything else he says or does, but I do respect that, and I think
What do you
that is
respect in one
something,
another? I
that
respect
as a
his
mother
children.
And a grandmother is
That's
very
not.
important to me.
She has no respect for
so
Trump, basically.
I believe
It is
that
adorably staged,
What do-
though. This is an adorably staged
has become in
question,
part
as
so,
Howland says.
so
Yeah.
conflict-oriented,
It is an
so
adorable
intense.
question.
But it's an
because there's a lot
adorably
of
But then again,
staged question.
This is not an ordinary time, and this is not an ordinary election.
Yeah, that's what I
We are
mean.
going to be choosing a president who will set policy for not just 4 or
And
8
it's an
years,
adorably
but because
staged
of some of the
election,
important
too.
decisions we have to make here at home and around the world, from the Supreme Court to energy and so much else. And so there is a lot at stake. It's one of the most consequential elections that we've had. And that's why I've tried to put forth specific policies and plans, trying to get it off of the personal and put it on to what it is I want to do as president.
Depro says everything
And that's
is
why I hope
staged, but
people
our
will,
question is,
check on
how
that
do you
for
get it
themselves so that they can see
unstaged?
that, yes, I've spent 30 years.
How do you get the majority of humanity
actually
to
maybe a
turn their
little
backs
more,
from the establishment?
working to help kids and families, and I
And to
want to
walk
take all
away
that
and to create their
experience
own
to the White
utopian
House
society?
and do
Well,
that every single day.
that's our task as
Mr. Trump.
anonymous.
No, it's not. That's not our
um,
task.
We need more
I
help.
consider her
That's not our
statement about
task.
my children to be a
It
very
isn't.
nice compliment. I
It
don't
can't
know if
be
it
our
was meant to
task.
be
No,
a compliment.
Our
no,
task
our
is
task
but it
is
is
to
a good. I'm very
challenge.
proud of my children.
You know, I mean, we can't sit
And,
there and go,
they've done
Anonymous
a wonderful
built
job,
this,
and they've
we
been
are
wonderful.
wrong.
No,
kids,
of course
so
not. Of course
I
not.
consider that a
Our
compliment.
task is to challenge
I
and
will
to
say
give
this
the
about
right
Hillary.
information for people to
She doesn't
use.
quit. She doesn't give up. I respect that. I tell it like it is. She's a fighter. I disagree with much of what she's fighting for. I do disagree
Anarchist
with her
Network
judgment
says
in
you
many
close the
places.
curtains. So basically,
But she
you
does
build
fight
a
hard,
citizen
and
media
She doesn't quit, and she doesn't
that
give up.
trumps
And I consider that to be a
the
very
establishment
good trait.
media.
Thanks to both of you.
Or you
I
stop
want to thank
looking
both
at
the
the
candidates.
disgusting
I
stuff.
want to thank the university here. This concludes the town hall meeting. Our thanks to the candidates, the commission, Washington University, and to everybody who watched.
Please tune in on October 19th for the final presidential debate that will take place at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Good night, everyone.
Oh boy! So there's the debate.
That was a mess.
It was a mess. Claps, yes. Hand claps. It's over. Yes, it is over. It was horrible. Handshakes incoming. Trump just kissed that woman. Did he touch her? No, he didn't touch her. Oh, that was his daughter. That he's
Benda
also,
says, please don't fucking end. He's having too much fun with us talking about the debate. Please don't end the fucking stream. Yeah, well, sorry, we need to sleep too.
Well, one of us does, and it's not me, because I'm in America.
Yeah, it's 4:30 in the morning here.
You know what? other countries don't exist because of America. So whatever. You should be like under American daylight savings time or
something. No.
Eraser Anon UK. Yes, you did miss it.
It's been going on for about an hour
and a half.
An hour and a half, yeah.
Or actually, hour and 40 minutes.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
they went way over time.
They sure in the hell did. They were all like, whatever.
It's because it was badly moderated, in my opinion.
Well, they kept on yelling at everybody, sure. Whatever, who cares?
Oh, someone is asking you to take a vape before the end of the stream.
Sure, hold on. Vaping.
No, Panda Man, I do not live in Germany.
Feelings. God almighty.
I don't have the German accent.
You can't even do a German accent, dude.
I know. That was fucking terrible.
It was.
I apologize.
Like,
I apologize,
fail.
German watchers.
Fail. Where are we? We're around.
God almighty.
All right, you can mute the stream.
No.
The C-SPAN stream.
Where are the men in this world? What the hell have we become? We just offer our children up to the system with the fluoride
what was that?
water
What did you do?
hurting them.
I'm laughing because
perverts
I'm playing
grab them
Alex
at the
Jones
airport
in
to
the
train them for the
background
pedophile
again,
government.
Crying. Later, D-Pro.
Thanks for watching, D-Pro. We appreciate you.
So, yeah, this is the only way I can express I feel about both of these two people. Alex Jones is a great actor, though, isn't he? I mean, dude.
Yeah, he cannot be serious. He is acting, and he's getting a lot of money from his bullshit.
I mean, he can win awards with that shit.
I'm sorry.
We should prank phone call C-SPAN.
The world order's gotta be defeated. Oh God. Please, God, please protect us from the New World Order. Please protect the children. Oh, God.
We could use Alex Jones crying. Just call them up.
What is wrong with you people?
Alex Jones is done. He's finished crying.
Oh my God!
What?
Eraser Anon UK said, "Imagine a porno with Clinton and Trump."
There probably is one somewhere out there, Eraser.
Nellies going, kill everybody. I get off
That's
when I talk about
disgusting.
cutting people's power off.
I made a whole bunch of Alex Jones clips today, just for this special occasion of the live stream. So, and I also made Donald Trump ones too. See?
Grab him by the pussy.
Yep. You know, you gotta just.
So we can't go around it anymore. We have to do the next debate as well.
Which debate? When is this next debate? Is there gonna be another debate? Because
there is going to be another debate. Let me look it up. Debate schedule.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Ah! Alex Jones is a freak. You know, maybe it would have been better having Alex Jones running against Hillary or something. Yeah, I don't know.
What's the difference between Trump and Alex Jones?
Alex Jones is more vocal, of course.
Hmm.
And he
So
believes
in 10 days.
And he believes in like all kinds of crazy stuff.
Mm-hmm. So in 10 days, on Wednesday, October 19th, there will be a third presidential debate, and that will be the last one.
You know what? I got to read this. Joey, you know what? You are right. Joey is 100% right. He says, haha, nope, you're both wrong. Actually, Clinton would have a leash on Trump, who would be her cuckold, slave with a ball gag, being humiliated by Clinton in the femdom and all in leather. Yes. Yes, that I would not. I could see that. I'm sorry for interrupting you, but go ahead. That was a good.
Well, what was that about? I mean,
it was a visual.
All right. I do not want to think about this.
Stop. You must stop and open your mind and expand and think about Trump naked and Hillary Clinton naked, holding each other closely, looking into each other's eyes.
Nope. Nope.
You're
Fuck
right.
no. Fuck
You're
no.
right.
Fuck no.
You're right.
I moved on her like a bitch.
Trump.
And on that bombshell, we should end the live stream.
Should we? I thought people were going to start calling C-SPAN. Just if you can get in. We got the numbers up on the screen, folks.
Are they taking calls?
Yeah.
Oh, they are.
202-748-8920 for Clinton supporters, and 2027. Oh, they just cut the number from the screen. Man.
Please someone do a prank call.
I don't think we can.
We can't?
I don't think we can live stream it. I mean, we'd have to wait for the person to get on the air. And that would that might take a while.
And then the asterisk says, except women, people of color,
All
LGBT people, Muslims, etc. And here's a tweet that Donald Trump's campaign
I'm
sent
off
out.
to bed.
Hypocrite.
No.
Hillary Clinton is the single biggest beneficiary of Citizens United in history by
folks.
far. And finally, I want to show you this tweet.
My other bro chilling out on the live stream saying, hey, I got to sleep now.
Mrs. Clinton.
And
hey, Donald Trump, regarding your claim that Captain Khan would be alive if you were the president,
Mr. Buzzkill,
go F yourself. Jesse Larris is foreign policy
Fuck you.
And let's make some telephone calls here. Gwendolyn is in Morehead City, North Carolina, supporting Donald Trump.
I have to be at work in about 6 hours, so...
Glenn, what is your reaction to tonight's debate?
Oh, that's a long time from
now. I have to say, first of all, that Ms. Clinton has proved that she's all talk and no action, except for fundraising. I think Trump...
and Joey, I miss Bernie too, but Anonymous has no political affiliation. We are we are nonpartisan.
The United States needs his expertise, not more political.
But I personally miss Bernie too.
We can't stand
even though you can't vote for him.
Of what we've had, which is what we would have to put up with if we chose Hillary. Very bad choice. That's mine.
I miss him too.
Next up is Monet.
I think that even though he was
supporting Secretary Clinton,
part of the establishment, he worked for mostly the working people.
Welcome.
Hi, thank you for taking my call. I just want to say that I am so proud of my girl, Hillary. I mean, she took it to him. She was cool, calm, composed.
Right. I mean, when we do become political, it's because a government is hurting the people.
I did not appreciate
Iraq says, I'd say Anonymous is outright non-political.
You're darn right, Kelly Conway. It was foul. He shouldn't have done that. And then I was wondering...
Yeah, you can add me on Skype, Anarchist Network.
She seems to have about around the debate time. What's going on there?
Skype is for feds.
We got you in here in Seattle. We got you.
Panda Man, it comes down to
West Virginia,
the political beliefs. We don't believe in the establishment politics. Panda Man is saying bullshit. Yes, you guys are.
My mind tonight, Donald Trump's gonna be
when we see the establishment politics going awry, like the way they are, we have to step in and say something. I mean, it's just bullshit. I mean, if you're going to have a dictator like in Turkey turning off internet connections and repressing its people, of course we're going to say something.
Logan County, because she said
Panda Man, you can add me too.
Shut them down, and we have the technology now for clean
You guys
coal.
cannot add me.
We have the technology to turn coal into
Bernie wasn't the
gasoline.
answer because we knew Bernie would never win anyways. It was close. It was a stab
and right here in West Virginia that this country
the establishment's eye because he's always been anti-establishment. He's always been his own person.
And with Hillary Clinton,
and that's why a lot of Anons did kind of behind the scenes like Bernie.
EPA and put all these miners in Ohio, Kentucky, Pennsylvania out of jobs, out of work, and created this vacuum of nothing but violence and drug selling and stuff like that. We need
good night, Joey.
Stop all the drugs from coming across into this country, all the heroin.
And good night, everyone.
Scotty, let me jump in at that point. And someone calling themselves
Trump's
disciple.
Wait,
Twitter
Trump's disciples
says Bill Clinton
on Twitter.
Laughed at cold people. She will too.
What?
And that is a tweet from one of our viewers tonight, and we're asking for you to tweet in using @C-SPAN.
Oh, you can tweet into @C-SPAN.
Next up is Walter in Monroe
and
Township,
#debate.
New Jersey, on our other line. Hey, Walter, what did you think of tonight's debate? Do you have a candidate now?
Yes, I do, actually.
We should tweet with Yan.
I'm leaning toward
Burn!
Actually, because of the comments. I think this campaign has become overly nasty. It's unnecessary. Stick to the facts. You know, this character bashing is just dividing us even further. And it's very disturbing. You know, this thing about that locker room talk, yeah, that was very disturbing to me too. And yesterday I said I would never cast a vote for him because of that. But in retrospect, I've been thinking more and more about it. And in fact, Jimmy Carter even had lust in his heart, you know, by his own admission. So, you know, I think I'm still going to go for Trump.
Okay, thanks for calling in tonight, Walter, from Monroe Township, New Jersey. Next up is Ernest, who is watching us in Santa Rosa, California, and you are a supporter of Mr. Trump. How did your candidate do tonight?
I really liked the fact that Trump was in command of himself, and
here we go. I'm tweeting out to C-SPAN.
He went after Hillary. And
let's see if our tweet gets in.
I'm saying, hey, C-SPAN, #debate. That was a very horrible show of humanity on both ends of the aisle. We are disgusted. Anonymous.
And, young people don't need that. It's us old guys. I'm 73 years old. And I certainly need, health insurance, but I have the Medicare. But I thought Donald Trump was forceful. He shows great signs of leadership, and I like
Donald
him, and
Trump,
I'm gonna vote for
according to this guy, shows great signs of leadership.
Steve. And Steve is in Lafayette Hill, Pennsylvania.
He doesn't.
Neither of them do. I'm sorry.
Steve?
No.
Incoming vape.
Senator Clinton did fantastic. Donald Trump doesn't pay taxes. He doesn't know what the inner cities are. He couldn't even fathom that. He's too busy in Trump Tower, eating off gold plates. It's absolutely ridiculous. And the man doesn't know about Aleppo.
I'm sorry, you cannot sleep.
I think Hillary Clinton was on point. She answered questions, and she didn't give in to Donald Trump's crazy attitude into his nonsense.
Anarchist network. Yes, it is Anon 2 world.
I don't know what I would do without it. That man who's
I'm not trying to fame fag. We were trying to keep it where you guys didn't really know who we were.
I have medical conditions. It's absolutely
keep it anonymous so we wouldn't have our quote Twitter names or anything else out there.
Any sane, intelligent American.
I failed in that.
Okay,
my OPSEC sucked.
Back to my colleague.
I'm still safe.
He's still safe.
From the running mates. Here's Senator Tim Kaine. No question who won tonight. Donald focused on Hillary. Hillary focused on the American people. And
you know who my favorite YouTuber is, Panda Man? Honestly, Angry Joe.
On a big debate win.
He's like one of my favorites because he tells it like it is. PewDiePie gets on my nerves. Again.
Susan, I also want to show you some of the national newspaper headlines.
I like the political channels like Secular Talk.
The New York Times.
Oh, and Russian
Trump
Hacker.
And Clinton wage a nasty fight from first to last.
Because it's like
the Wall Street Journal says.
And I like Frank. What is it? 1080 whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And finally,
and of course I also like iDubbbz and H3H3 Productions and those goofballs.
And back to Twitter for comments from the audience here.
Russian Hacker, dude. He like invites you into his house, and he does experiments with you. It's like you're sitting there with him.
And back to phone calls. Alex is in Kathleen, Georgia, a Trump supporter.
I don't know about Filthy Frank. I don't think you've even watched Filthy Frank, Panda Man.
Oh, he has this music video. Hold on, let me look it up. If my computer stops being a bitch.
To be honest, because I voted years ago for her husband, Clinton, and I was happy of my decision from
he has this music video called "Kill Yourself," and it has 11 million views, almost 12 million.
Nice.
A change. Well, now we have it. No 4 years, but two.
I personally don't like him that much.
So it's time for America to wake up.
But
who?
Choose the right person.
Frankie?
Thank you, Alex from Georgia.
Yeah, Filthy Frank.
On Twitter,
oh no, I'm talking about Frankie on 1080p, but Filthy Frank
debate?
I've never watched. So.
Next up is Martha calling us in Otmore, Alabama. Clinton supporter, you are on the air. Welcome.
Yes, I
Joey wants him to tweet.
Tonight,
what do we
and
tweet?
when you got
Where's
to talking
Joey?
about the insurance
What's your?
and so forth, the Medicaid,
What's your Twitter, Joey?
He typed it.
Did he really? I missed it.
Yeah.
Medicare.
Oh,
it's
there
above
it is.
what you said.
I'm copying it right now.
Even though
1985. I got it.
People think that we can't, but Hillary, you're dead on point. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. Next up is Randy, and Randy is in Huntsville, Alabama. Hi, Randy. Welcome to our discussion about the debate. What did you think?
I liked it. I really liked it. I've been undecided. I hadn't voted in the last two elections, and I lean to the Democrat side, but now I'm voting for Donald Trump.
There you go.
Gotcha.
Boom.
Support Donald Trump.
And what swayed you tonight?
Your Acer non UK. It sure sounds like Twitter is dying soon because of all the corporate issues and the shadow banning.
I'm a person who has a heart problem. I've had prostate cancer, and I'm worried about the healthcare system. But more than that, I'm worried about America. And if we don't have a change, my kids, I have a kid in Alabama, a senior, and I worry about his future. I worry about my grandkids' future. And I think that if we don't put him in office, they don't have no future.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Next up is Barbara, Girard, Ohio.
Hashtag.
How did Secretary Clinton do tonight?
I thought she did fine. I got tired of watching Donald.
You hear these old people talking?
What did you?
Yeah, it's they're not. We can't understand them.
Tone of the debate.
The whole election's been the same way. He walks around, condemns, spouts off stuff. That's about it.
So tonight was more of the same for you.
All right.
More of the
I
same.
think that
I did want to let Hillary know.
we've bled
when
this
he talked
turnip
about Obamacare,
dry
how
enough.
terrible it is. Well,
What do you
I've
think?
had cancer twice. The first time was a 45-pound
I think
tumor.
we've bled this turnip dry enough
too scared to use
with the
my
cancer of this debate.
Obamacare. I was paying almost $100
Yes,
a week
we have.
as a food worker for dental and stuff, and I couldn't even get
It
my
has
teeth
been
pulled
fun.
because I
We
needed a
enjoy
heart
doing this.
valve,
It's
too.
fun. We wish we could do this full time.
This, like in
That would be
2014,
awesome. But
I would have owed everybody. In fact, I just
Yeah.
straightened out
Yeah, we just
everything
don't
I
have
owed
the
when I worked
time
and
or
had
the
health
funds.
insurance. The way it is
And we
right
can
now,
start
it's
asking
okay
for
everybody.
donations.
And I'm sure
No.
all
Loud.
my
Sorry.
supporters would call me a bum for being on disability, but I don't see
But
anybody.
no,
like
we'll never
coming
ask for
back from
donations
that
because
kind of thing. I had colon cancer the second
it just
time.
isn't right.
All right,
we
Barbara,
do this
thanks so much for your
activism
call. Next up is
because
Nick.
we want to change
Nick is
stuff.
in Fredericksburg,
anyways,
Virginia, supporter
I think
of Donald
most
Trump.
of the
How
people
did
on the
candidate
account
do tonight?
can appreciate that too.
He held his own. He did good. You know, I'm just about tired of the same old, and Hillary's the same old. She's not good for the country.
So,
you know.
Anyways.
Trump held his own, and I think Trump will be better for the country because he's not the same old.
And how did you, were you concerned about the videotape that everyone's been talking about for the past 2 days?
You know what? Here's the thing. That's it. You know, that's just a typical male.
Uruk, yes, we are going to stream the next one.
Yeah. And you know, the fact of the matter is...
Of course we are.
Nobody's going to say... But,
we stream all of these.
Yeah, it seems to be catching on. So
they're going to throw themselves at you. They're going to let you do what you want to do.
We thank you guys for all watching, and we're dragging this on beyond what we should be dragging.
Thank you guys so much for watching. You've been awesome with your comments and
guys
support. And we will see you in the next debate.
I'm going to switch to our outro now, and we're going to be cutting the feed in a few minutes. But thank you very much for watching. Good night, guys.
Bye-bye.
Resist.
Independent other line.